Good morning, council. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jurors. So I have to ask you those same three questions. Were you all able to follow my instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday?
I know you want us to say no, but yes.
Yes or not affirmatively. Were you also able to follow my instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation?
I was waiting for one of you to call that out. I didn't want to be the one to call it out because then when people say, no, it's all in your head. Thank you, thank you. I noticed that too. They were making eye contact several times. I thought I saw that too. Bev.
Everyone said yes and nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday? Everyone said no.
Did you? Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have Mr. Burgess, please?
If you guys send me messages and I don't answer and it looks like I read them, I just click it when it pops up and then I typically forget to go back. So please don't be offended. Just yell at me. At least we're starting with Alessi and we're not starting with Brennan. Cannot with him.
So I'll remind you, you're still in the room. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I didn't see the cheek
All right,
one.
Mr. Alessi, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your
Way
Honor.
more.
Morning, Mr. Burgess.
Morning.
On your direct examination yesterday,
Right, hold on.
your experience was brought up in questions, correct?
Correct.
On your direct examination, your certifications were brought up in questions, correct?
Incorrect.
There was no discussion in your direct examination
You guys are right on time.
about having certifications in Celebrite and Magnet Forensic Axiom. Did I miss?
If I misheard your question, it was,
I asked about certifications. I'll repeat it, sir, in case I misspoke. On your direct examination, your certifications were brought up in questions, correct?
yes, correct.
However, on your direct examination, no questions were asked of you at all about your supposed education, correct?
Supposed.
And you did not bring up your educational background at all
Correct.
on direct examination, correct?
Correct.
Come on, Alessi.
A forensic examiner must prioritize accuracy, correct?
Correct.
A forensic examiner must prioritize reliability,
Thanks for
correct?
the follow, Lori.
Correct.
Both are important.
Correct.
It's criminal proceeding we're in, correct?
Correct.
And therefore, accuracy and reliability are especially important in a criminal case as opposed to a civil case, correct?
I think that would be equally important in both, but yes.
But they're certainly important in a criminal case.
Correct.
And accuracy and reliability are...
Thank you for updating me to let me know you're feeling somewhat better. I appreciate it. I was worried about you. He is like a cat with a mouse. You know, he's like the sweetest guy when he's so serious, but he's like sweet about it. But he, at the same time, he's one of those people that would say something a certain way and mean something else, but he's smart about it.
especially important when
Thank you for the follow.
seconds and minutes matter as they matter and as you testified to in this case, correct?
Correct.
You testified yesterday that the events on the timeline contained in your PowerPoint presentation that was displayed yesterday and presented to the jury were accurate, your words several times, down to the second, correct?
Correct. For the Lexus, yes.
For the Lexus.
Yes.
You said they were accurate down to the second, correct?
Sir, are you employed by Lexus, or are you are you filming commercials for them? Because the way that you keep bringing up the Lexus clock and being so for the Lexus clock, I cannot. I know. Why? But he's got to be working for Lexus.
Correct.
Let's take a look at your PowerPoint presentation that you discussed extensively before the jury yesterday.
Yes.
Mr. Wool, could we please bring up slide 32 of the presentation Mr. Burgess discussed with the jury yesterday? And Your Honor, with your permission to publish.
Okay,
Thank you.
I don't like my hair.
Mr. Burgess, pick your screen.
Sure.
Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Miss Reed's Lexus vehicle traveling to 34 Fairview Road and the O'Keefe residence?
Yes.
According to your timeline, Miss Reed's vehicle powered on at 12:36 a.m. on January 30th, correct?
Correct.
Now, is your timeline on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
For the power on and off events, yes.
Yes. Could we go to slide 33, please, Mr. Wolk? And we're going to go through a handful of slides,
Sure.
Mr. Burgess, to just give you a heads up. Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed leaving the O'Keefe's residence at 5:07 a.m.?
Yes, it is.
And according to your timeline, Ms. Reed powered on her vehicle at 5:07:46 a.m. on January 30th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Is the time on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, according to the Lexus, yes.
If we could go, Mr. Woog, to slide 34, please. And these are all your slides, correct, sir?
Correct, they
You
are.
prepared them?
Yes.
Are you
Is
sure?
Slide 34, a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Miss Reed traveling to the Dighton residence at 12:25:01 a.m. I'm sorry, 12:25:01 p.m.
12:35:01, correct.
I'm sorry, thank
Yes.
you, 12:35. And according to your analysis, Miss Reed powered on her vehicle to travel to Dighton at 12:35:01 p.m. on January 30th, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is the time on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes.
Slide 35, please, Mr. Wolf. Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Miss Reed's vehicle being towed by the Massachusetts police vendor from her parents' residence in Dighton?
Yes, it is.
And pursuant to your timeline that you created here, Miss Reed's vehicle was powered on at 4:11 p.m. on January 30th, 2022 and towed to the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
We shouldn't get this much enjoyment from this, should we? What's FKR? Are you asking if I'm for Karen Reed? Yes, I am. Not until this trial started, but yes. If you get two, I get two, and I'd have to run that by Aaron. I know. Let me show you how for Karen Reed I am. Where is it? Oh, let's go with that one. The fact that we get this much enjoyment off of this. Are you? You're for her, right? I hear that a lot of people from Canton are actually for her. Have you? That's awesome. Well, hopefully you'll get to meet her after she gets a not guilty.
Is your timeline on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, this timestamp is.
Slide 36, please, Mr. Wu.
I think he created his own time in his
Slide
head.
36 a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Miss Reed's vehicle arriving at the Canton Police Department?
Yes, it is.
And pursuant to the timeline you created,
Me
Miss
too.
Reed's vehicle powered off at 5:36:42 p.m. on January 30th, 2022, correct?
Objection. Objection.
Oh, we have this.
Okay.
Is your analysis is your analysis on slide 36 accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday,
Yes, according to the Lexus, yes.
according to the Lexus?
Yes.
It's my personal opinion that that's from, as we now know her name to be, Cora.
Point of
On
fact,
the arm.
Mr.
you, Julie.
Burgess, none of the 5 timelines that we just reviewed from your presentation
What about her
are
DJ?
accurate at all, and certainly not down to the second. Am I right or am I wrong?
You are wrong.
Are you
Are
aware?
you sure?
And if we could go back to the first
Chloe has a new name. She's renamed to Cora.
slide, which is slide 32, and we'll look at each of them quickly.
Sure.
Are you aware that all of the relevant events in the timeline you described in your presentation in these slides actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, not January 30th, 2022? Do you know that?
This is January 30th, 2022.
That's
It's January 29th, correct.
It's January 29th, 2022. And in terms of January 30th, I want to go back and make sure it's very, very clear. In your presentation, they actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, correct?
The night of the incident, yes.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you sure you don't want to call it an accident or a collision? You could tell when he's getting... Hi, Danielle, how are you? He's going to be
Mr.
my true crime
Burgess.
husband.
Once that timeline crosses into midnight, it's
You
January.
missed it. I can roll it back. It was just a second ago. Hold on.
Described in your presentation in these slides actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, not January 30th, 2022. Do you know that?
This is January 30th, 2022.
That's
It's January 29th, correct.
It's January 29th, 2022. And in terms of January 30th, I want to go back and make sure it's very, very clear.
Maybe he should have went and got that degree.
In your presentation, they actually occurred on January 29th, 2022.
Same mindset. You were going there
correct?
too. Thank you.
The night of the incident, yes.
Can I have a
Thank
moment,
you.
Your Honor, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Did you get to cuddle Collins yet? Jules? Any daily cuddles? He does it. This man is brilliant. He's my second husband too, so now we're sister wives.
Mr. Burgess, once that timeline crosses into midnight, it's January 30th, not January 29th, correct?
Correct. Yes, it is January 30th. Yes.
So in actuality, these 5 timelines, as you testified to them yesterday, are not accurate down to the second, correct? Because you got the wrong date.
Well, parlance, yes, but yes, they are still accurate to the second.
But the date, these 5...
How in the hell are they still accurate if you have the wrong damn date? Explain that to me. You get him, Leslie. This is all you go.
Let's pursue this. These 5 timelines are exactly 24 hours off from the time where the event actually occurred, correct?
No. So these events occurred on January 30th.
So your report
If I
isn't right.
misspoke and said the 29th. Yes.
Okay. You understand my point?
Yes, I do.
I love him. He's my second husband. Yeah, we need a sister wife sticker. Remind me to make
The
one tonight.
core
Will you, Catnip?
basis of your job, your role,
Britt, you're late? Because I love you guys so much, I'll roll it back a few seconds. You could hear that again.
22, not January 30th, 2022. Do you know that?
This is January 30th, 2022.
That's
January 29th, correct.
It's January 29th, 2022. And in terms of January 30th, I want to go back and make sure it's very, very clear. In your presentation, they actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, correct?
9 or 10?
The night of the incident, yes.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Aaron won't be mad that I adopted a husband, a true crime lawyerly husband, right? Because if I ever get in trouble, he'll know who to contact, right?
Mr. Burgess, once that
It is
timeline crosses into midnight, it's January 30th, not January 29th, correct?
Correct. Yes, it is January 30th. Yes.
So in actuality, these 5 timelines, as you testified to them yesterday, are not accurate down to the second, correct? Because you got the wrong date.
Well, parlance, yes, but yes, they are still accurate to the second.
But the date, these 5 timelines, let's pursue this. These 5 timelines are exactly 24 hours off from the time where the event actually occurred, correct?
No. So these events occurred on January 30th.
If you ever needed a better example for telling kids why it's important to stay in school, I think this is it right here.
If I misspoke and said the 29th, yes.
Okay. You understand my point?
Yes, I do.
Will you tell her that I said they have a good
The
time
core basis of your job, your role in this case,
Jules, will you tell her I said they have a good time too for me, please? Thank you.
is to reconcile time discrepancies, as you say, down to the second, correct?
Correct?
But your discussion of the timeline on each of these slides, on each of these key events is incorrect, correct?
No, it's not incorrect.
Are you
So
sure?
your discussion
Thank
of
you.
the applicable date, you're saying, as you described it yesterday and interpreted this timeline, was correct? Is that what you're saying now?
This timeline is correct,
But my
yes.
question is your discussion of it yesterday.
If I misspoke and said the 29th, then yes, I misspoke on that, yes.
And that was your testimony yesterday, what you spoke about.
Yes.
Where do they get these people from?
Let's turn to a different topic. Lights up, if we could, and thank you for taking that down, Mr. Wolf.
Okay. The Canton questions. Does anybody have a Canton question? We have a Canton representative in our chat. Let me know if you guys ask the questions without spoilers.
Actually, to mitigate the inconsistencies that you analyzed yesterday between independent clocks, am I correct that your position is that forensic methodology recommends cross-referencing timestamps from multiple sources to identify discrepancies and, when possible, leveraging time anchors, events that contain both a system timestamp and an external physical event to identify and correct timing discrepancies? Do I have that right?
Yes, you do.
Yesterday, we talked about the scientific method. You recall that, sir?
I do.
And how it's designed to prevent bias
That was
from
great.
infecting the analysis. You recall that as well?
Yes, I do.
And yesterday, you agreed that experts should never selectively gather and interpret evidence to confirm a pre-existing belief while neglecting evidence that contradicts those beliefs, correct?
Yes, they are pro Karen. That was the first question I had too.
Correct.
And doing that is called confirmation bias, which you said you understood
Yeah, it
yesterday,
does look
right?
small.
That is correct.
That would be improper to do that, correct?
Yes.
It would raise the specter, if not the reality, of unreliability if that occurred, correct?
It could, yes.
And it could also lead into errors in forensic analyses, correct?
Correct.
It's starting up
Let's
here
take a
now.
look at your January 30th report, sir.
Okay.
And this is your first report, your second report being the May 8th report.
I want to make it abundantly clear. I have no sympathy for someone that will go and someone's entire life is on the line. They're going to go up there and they're going to lie. No, I have no sympathy for him. Turn pure tomato red.
In your January 30th report, you did not issue any opinion or conclusion with regard to the timing of what you call the text stream event 1162.2 in your January 30th report, did you?
No, I did not.
You didn't even mention either the phrase text stream event or the phrase 1162.2 in your January 30, 2025 report, did you?
No, I did not.
But in that
Second.
January 30, 2025 report, you did evaluate the variance between the Lexus infotainment system on the one hand and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone data on the other, correct?
Correct.
In fact, in that report, the January 30th report, you compared the call logs on Ms. Reed's Lexus infotainment system with the call logs on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone in order to evaluate whether there was a variance, correct?
Correct.
And do I have it correct in your report that it's the position that the timestamp call log data, specifically the recorded calls between Ms. Reed and Mr. O'Keefe, along with the infotainment power event logs, were analyzed for what you called clock skew by cross-referencing them against other independent data sources, right?
No, so that would have been comparing the timestamps from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone with the timestamps from the defendant's Lexus.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's blaming the school. It's all this guy.
Yes.
Yes, right, to Ms. Reed,
To make sure you guys understand this, every case that he's testified, and I believe he said 10 years yesterday, every case that he's been expert in is now going to be looked into again. Will they get new trials? I don't know. But everything he's done could be void.
Reed's Lexus.
Correct.
And a forensic comparison of these data sets was aimed to identify timestamp discrepancies,
Yes, it can.
correct?
Correct.
To identify potential clock skew, correct?
Correct.
And potential clock drift that could impact event reconstruction, correct?
Correct.
All as stated in your January 30th report, right?
Correct.
Why does he look so pissed? He's the one that came on the stand and lied. I know, me either. I honestly didn't expect him to show. I don't even know what I expected. But here we are.
Your Honor, may I have this marked as the next exhibit in order for...
What do you have next, Alessi?
Sure.
Yeah. We shouldn't get this decided over a court case, but Alessi is brilliant.
Did the BBB ID?
May I present to the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, I am presenting to you what has been marked as Exhibit BBB for identification. I'd ask you to take a look at it, sir, and then pick your head up when you've had a fair opportunity to take a look at it.
Okay. Sure.
Do you recognize that document, sir?
I do.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Keep in mind, this guy was going for his degree for 17 years.
Sure. So this is a graph that I put together that is comparing timestamps, call timestamps from the infotainment module with Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
And is that Exhibit BBB for identification in your January 30, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
And did you create that chart that is depicted in Exhibit BBB for identification?
Yes, I did.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of the information that you discussed in page 33 of your January 30, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
I offer Exhibit BBB for identification into evidence, Your Honor.
If we can introduce the whole report to put it in
Why don't I
context.
see you in setbacks?
Sidebar. First sidebar. Isn't this the dude? He doesn't have a degree. He does not have a bachelor's degree. That was yesterday. And if you guys missed it, I did put it on my YouTube afterwards. So, my true crime husband is brilliant. 100%. He is. So, we found out yesterday that the degree is actually one that he's in the process of getting and has been for 17 damn years. 17 years. He's been testifying as an expert witness on the stand. I believe it was for 10 years. Yeah, I believe it's 10 years. And now every single case that he worked on could be in jeopardy. Makes you wonder how many people he's given. I don't even know what you call this testimony. He's given, let's just go with the word bias. He's given biased and influential statements. That's my opinion. I think it's because Alessi wants to make sure it's a slow burn. Teaching him a lesson. I don't know. But I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. No Unless they thought that the defense wouldn't, so it wasn't a big deal. Why am I such a hand talker today? I'm like, I'm so invested. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fraudulent, thank you, fraudulent testimony. I can't word some days, every day, I mean. That's what's scary, is it could be innocent people and it could also be guilty people that get out. They don't understand what they're playing with this. They don't know what's at jeopardy. Or no, I'm sorry, they do. They just don't care. So in Canton, how do you all feel about this? Now that you know this witness and everything they're doing, how do y'all feel? I want to know. Right, Daniel? I agree.
May I continue, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, I offer Exhibit BBB into evidence.
Okay.
I thought the last one was BBE.
Exhibit 189.
Are you guys as angry as we are? And we're not even in the state. I have to know if you guys are as angry. Hi, Peachy. I hope you have a great day, too. Right?
Represented to the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Canton City.
Mr. Burgess, I am represented to you what is now Exhibit 189 in evidence. Ask you to, once again, take a look at it, and if you need further time, please take it, sir, and then pick up your head when you've had a fair opportunity to look at that document.
Okay.
Despite claiming the purpose in your January 30 report of, quote, identifying timestamp discrepancies, potential clock
Hey, how
skew,
are you?
and clock drift, you did not compare the time of the three-point turn between the infotainment system in the Lexus SUV and Mr. O'Keefe's phone, did you?
Not at that time, no.
Oh, shit.
Instead, you identified the potential variance by analyzing various calls on the infotainment system of the Lexus versus Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
At this point, homie, just say I lied. I was wrong. I want to go home now. Or wave a white flag or plead the fifth. But you're screwed either way. You shouldn't have lied.
This data
He's like Pinocchio.
in that exhibit
That's what I forgot to
captures a precise moment in time that is easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct, it does.
Mr. Wolk, Your Honor, may Mr. Wolk please publish this exhibit?
Okay.
Babe.
So
He's
this
lying
data,
again.
just to reestablish, captures a precise moment in time that's easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct.
Now, according to your own table, there are potential offsets of, reading in the far right-hand column, 2 seconds,
You guys, you got to remember, every day we sit here and say that it can't get worse than this. It can't get bigger than this, right? But every time we say that, they prove us wrong. I'm here for it. Do it, Alessi. Do it.
1 second, 2 seconds, 1 second, 8 seconds, 16 seconds, and 21 seconds, correct?
Correct.
And yet,
Right?
you failed to apply this variance to the infotainment time on the Lexus associated with the TechStream event 1162.2, correct?
Correct. May I explain?
No.
I will proceed along. I'm sure if Mr. Brennan has questions and wants you to explain, he may choose to do that.
Oh, God, no.
This is simple arithmetic, is it not? It's either an addition or a subtraction, the offset, correct?
Correct.
And yet, in your initial report, on January 30th, 2025, you did not
Right,
take
Erica?
that final analytical step, did you?
No, because these clock variances do not apply to that time frame.
But you didn't take, you know what analytical step I'm talking about, correct?
No, I don't. I don't
All right.
believe so.
We'll come back to it.
Sir, if you don't understand, ask so you can give an actual, real answer. The hell?
I want to go focus on your opinion. What you did do, as I understand it, in your January 30th report. So, in your opinion, we can leave that up for a moment, please, because I want to see if we need to show the.
I bet you that jury is hanging on to everything Alessi is saying. If it was, no, they wouldn't for him, but for Alessi, 100%. Babe, I have a second husband.
What? You forgot to tell me.
It's a true crime husband. It's Alessi, so that way if I ever need legal expenses, it's covered.
Oh, okay.
Contrast, with your honor's permission, can we leave it up just a little bit longer?
Yes.
Thank you. In opinion number 5, and please feel free to look at your January 30th report.
Sure.
You indicated only
He lied
this.
again.
The difference between the Lexus infotainment and Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone ranged between 8 seconds and 16
Yes,
to
he does.
21 seconds during the period between 5:21:36 a.m. and 5:30:31 a.m. on January 29th, 2022. Do I have that correct?
Yes, between 5:21 and 5:30 a.m.
Yes.
Don't cough on me.
Now what I'd like to do is, and we can take that down. Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Just
Let's talk about what information you learned
You want some chips?
after you issued your January 30, 2025 report.
He's gonna get us the sandwich first from Subway.
Or at the time of that report, you received and reviewed a copy of a portion of your colleague's slide presentation and report at Aperture, Dr. Judson Welcher, correct?
From a presentation by Mr. DeSober. Yes.
Well,
Good morning.
I understand you want to add Mr. DeSogra. My question is,
Sustained.
okay, yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, I saw that comment. You guys think that she got reprimanded yesterday? I don't think so. And that's what's sad. He's just going to Subway. We
I'm
live in the middle of
focusing on
cornfields.
what would you like to call it? Do you call it a slide presentation you prefer, Dr. Welcher?
Sure, we can.
I want to
we can-
use
Exactly,
whatever
Erica.
parlance you're comfortable with.
Yeah, slide's fine, yeah.
Slide. So the slide presentation of Dr. Welcher that he submitted the same day you submitted your report on January 30, 2025. And in that, he analyzed the timing of the 11:62:2, what he calls an infotainment event, you call a tech stream event, correct?
Well, could I see the slide we're talking about to clarify?
Absolutely, absolutely.
He has to be bringing this up because he got another, doesn't he? Unless he found all the lies?
Evidence it was 188.
Okay,
And I'm also, sir, at your request, may I approach, please?
yes.
At your request, I want to give you
Sure.
that, if we have 188, we'll just give them the actual marked exhibit.
By the way, guys, for our Karen Reed support group, anything that you want to bring up in our virtual video meeting, please send me a message so I can read out the minutes in a video. Our thoughts.
You know what we'll do? We'll use the slide. If you need an exhibit, we'll pull the exhibit and move it along. Please publish, Mr. Wolf. Now, if we could enlarge the text,
Thank you, Wendy.
we don't need the map, so make that as large as you can, please, Mr. Wolf, in the relevant portions. All
I
righty.
mean, at this point,
aware that according to Dr. Welcher's analysis, as depicted in this slide in evidence, the 1162-2, what he calls an infotainment trigger that you call a text stream event, right?
Correct.
The 1162-2 text stream event occurred at 12:31:38 a.m. on January 29, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And that's when it began, right?
That's when the trigger threshold was met. Yes.
That's when the trigger threshold was met.
correct.
You we can take that down now, Mr. Wolk. You also testified yesterday that you reviewed Mr. Whiffen, Mr. Ian Whiffen's January report, which established a timeline of the last interactive events on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, could we please publish Exhibit 39, which is in evidence?
Okay.
Was he giving her like death glares or what was the
And
deal?
we could go to slide 82 and have 83 available if we can enlarge the applicable sections. And what I'm going to ask you, Mr. Burgess, is to see whether these events are consistent with your memory of what the applicable events are. Do you see?
No. Erica meant in the courtroom, not here. She does like I do, and talks to them like they can hear us. That's all.
See the column biometric device unlock with Face ID event
Sure
at
is.
12:32:04 a.m.
Yes.
Now that's after the 12:31:38 a.m. 11:62:2 text stream event that's in Mr. Welcher's slide, correct, that we just saw?
Correct. The unadjusted Lexus clock. Yes.
That blows my
Timestamp.
mind.
So, but I'm going to repeat the question.
Right?
The 12:32:04 a.m. device unlock with Face ID event
Thank
is
you.
after the 12:31:38 and 12:31:43 11:62:2 text stream event that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct.
Now, do you see the lock event which occurred at 12:32:09?
Thank you.
Yes, I do.
That
Did he skip out on the Face ID lock and unlock? I think that's where Leslie's going.
is also after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 text stream event, correct?
Yes, the unadjusted time.
That 12:32:09 a.m. lock event is after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 range that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct. From the Lexus clock.
So
Dude, you just need to give up. We don't care about your Lexus clock. The
if
hell?
we could go back, and we're going to keep toggle
Right,
back
Crystal?
with your Honor's permission between these two slides for the next couple questions. If we can go back to and enlarge Dr. Welcher's slide. That 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 time period is what your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, chose and his slide analysis as the last user interaction, according to him, on John O'Keefe's phone, correct? That's what he chose.
Yes, the 12:32:09. Yes.
Now if we could go back to
He has to be.
the, and zero in, please. Now, but even Mr. Whiffen's report establishes additional activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the event chosen by Dr. Welcher, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, Mr. Whiffen identifies a quote lock event that occurred 26 seconds after the 11:62 text stream event identified by Dr. Welcher at 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Correct. Using the unadjusted clock.
Give up on the clock. You have
I
bigger
would
problems,
like-
trust me.
Does Dr. Welcher at all use the words unadjusted clock in his slide, sir?
No. He does not.
Okay, what I'd like to do is ask you a question about
Here we go.
whether, in fact, Mr. Whiffen identifies a lock event that occurred 26 seconds after the 11:62 text stream event at 12:31:38 to 12:43 as stated in your colleague's report, Dr. Welcher, the slide presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you know whether a lock event on an iPhone requires human interaction?
Typically, yes, it would.
Is it just typically, or does it?
Well, it does. And in this case specifically, I believe it was via the lock button.
Correct, but this specific instance, the lock, it requires somebody, a human being, to actually press a button on the side, correct?
Unless it's auto locking, yes, it requires a button press, yes.
Do you have any reason to believe that the iPhone of Mr. O'Keefe had an auto locking function on it, sir?
No, as I said, he used the lock button.
Right.
So then why bring it up? The hell?
If we can enlarge that, do you see the end of health event 36 steps that we talked yesterday that was covering a distance of over 84 feet? Do you see that occurring at 12:32:16 a.m.?
I don't believe we talked about that yesterday, but yes, I do
Do
see
you
that.
see it?
I do, yes.
And that's also after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 text stream event identified by your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, in his slide, correct?
Correct.
Now, finally, do you see the entry pocket state detected at 12:33:14 a.m.? You see that, sir?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know what a pocket state is, sir?
I do know what a pocket state is.
Do you know
sure?
when the pocket states occurred on the iPhone of John O'Keefe pursuant to your analysis of his phone?
I do not.
You didn't analyze pocket state detections on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
No, I did not personally.
Do you believe pocket state detected data? Well, let me just go back and confirm. So you didn't analyze with any source pocket state detection information with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's phone. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So let's go back and summarize for each of the ones you did look at and analyze that you just testified.
I don't think so.
Every single one of those that we just discussed, those user interaction events, occurred after Dr. Welcher claims a collision occurred as represented in a text stream event of 1162.2 at 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Objection.
Do you
Good morning.
understand?
How are you?
Let's, if we could go back, please, to Dr. Welcher's
I don't
slide.
have his name in my notes.
Highlight the text again, please, Mr. Wolf. Do you understand that Dr. Welcher is correlating the infotainment trigger 1162.2 with an alleged collision? Do you understand that?
Objection.
Let's come to sidebar, please.
Second sidebar of the day, and we're just getting started. I mean, would you be surprised if they did, though? Don't worry, guys. And here we practice something called patience with parameters, so we get to skip this. I cannot get right on it. There we go.
You can put it back up.
I think she is too.
If we could go now, Mr. Wolf, back to the slide from Dr. Welcher's slide presentation.
No, wait, he had
And if
to
you
have,
could
because how would they have gotten
re-enlarge
this?
the applicable section that we've had up before.
Guys, no spoilers, please. We are just watching. We start the live late so we can fast forward through all the breaks. So please, no spoilers about when he crosses. Yeah.
Thanks for your patience,
Sure.
Mr. Burgess. You have reviewed this slide and this specific data in this slide previously, correct?
Correct.
And I just want to, Mr. Wolf, just go back to the slide so we're clear on what this is. So this slide here is what you're speaking about, right?
Correct.
And you've reviewed this slide prior to your testimony in this court, correct?
Correct.
And you considered this slide as part of your analyses that you have performed and testified about, correct?
Yes, I have.
So now, Mr. Burgess, I'd like to ask you a question.
Ask
Every
him.
single one of the user interaction events that we talked about, steps, lock, etc., occurred after Dr. Welcher's, what he calls an infotainment event, which you call a text stream event, in the range of 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
I would agree that yes.
So the answer is yes?
with the caveat.
I'm sorry, I didn't know
Sorry.
you hadn't finished.
Sure.
Please finish your answer.
Yes, with the caveat that user interaction only applies to the device lock, steps, and the pocket state are not duplicative of user interaction per se.
Let's just assume that is the case. Let's then just focus on what you consider to be a user interaction, which is device lock, correct?
Correct.
And the device lock event that you agree is a user interaction, we could go back to that just so we have clarity.
Good question, Showers.
The lock event that you agree is a user interaction occurred at 12:32:09, according to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
In that 12:32:09 time period, we could go back to Dr. Welcher, it is after the end of the text stream event dubbed as 1162.2, correct?
Correct,
And
according to,
and that's
sorry.
26 I didn't finish my question, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
So go ahead, finish your question. Don't answer, Mr. Burgess, until the complete question.
And that event lock, even according to Dr. Welcher's own words in his own slide, occurs 20 seconds after the end of the TechStream event 1162.2, correct?
Of the unadjusted clock, yes.
Bev, yeah.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, do you want the lights on, Mr. Leslie?
I'm going to keep that up. And so to repeat to alter it, hopefully make it a little clearer. So according to Dr. Welcher, the licensed engineers, your colleague at Aperture, his slide that he has here, the last O'Keefe cell phone event, the lock, occurred within approximately 26 seconds after the end of the TechStream event dubbed 1162.2. That's what's stated there, correct?
Correct, according to the unadjusted clock.
You keep adding according to the unadjusted clock, but do the words according to the unadjusted clock appear anywhere in that slide, sir?
No, they do not.
We can take that down and, with the court's permission, turn the lights back on, please. Yesterday, you stated that you reviewed a presentation by
It's clenching.
another expert, Mr. DeSogra, who reviewed the findings of your January 30th report. Do you recall that, sir?
Yes, I do.
In fact, in your May 8, 2025 report, your second report, your first being the January 30th report, you only cite 2 new sources of data that you reviewed before making your conclusions, correct?
Correct.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Do your thing, Alessi.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you for the follow. Thank you for tapping, guys. I see that we're already up to almost 15,000 likes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the follow, Sharon.
I'm gonna need to be heard on this as well.
All right.
Thank you. Our third sidebar of the day. Hank, I mean, at this point, you opened the door by putting this witness on the stand and wanting to introduce the new timeline. You got to deal with it. Own it. You screwed up a lot, many times over in different days, not just yesterday and today. This was all you. You know, when it comes his time to cross-examine, you know he's going to take it out on him. He's going to go for him. He's going to blame him. It's like these witnesses don't expect that, and they're going to.
May I proceed, Your Honor, and approach the witness?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir?
I'm going to present to you 2 documents, each of which is marked for identification. The first is Exhibit CCC for identification. That is one slide out of what is marked as Exhibit DDD for identification. And Exhibit CCC is one page out of Exhibit DDD for identification. And I'd ask you, sir, to take a look at those documents and reference either one. And please let me know, sir, when you've had a fair opportunity to review those documents so I can proceed with questions about them.
Sure.
I bet you when Alessi crosses, it's not a long cross.
Okay.
Sir, can you please read the exhibit designation on the entire slide presentation?
On DDD,
Pardon me?
on exhibit DDD,
And that's triple D as in David?
correct.
So in exhibit
Triple D as in diploma.
DD, is that the March 5, 2005 PowerPoint presentation of Mr. DeSogra that you spoke about extensively yesterday?
Yes, it is.
And sir, before you came to court yesterday, did you review and consider the exhibit DDD for identification?
Yes, I did.
And as a matter of fact, you spent considerable time with regard to exhibit DDD before you came to court yesterday.
Correct.
And in addition,
Are you
isn't
sure?
it the case that your testimony yesterday is that exhibit DDD, the March 5, 2025 slide presentation of Mr. DeSogra,
Good
was
point,
part of
Sarah.
the reason why you created your May 8th, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, I offer exhibit exhibit CCC into evidence, and do not offer exhibit DDD at this time.
Okay, the witness just spoke of DDD, so why don't you have him just say what CCC is before we put it in?
I will do so, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Burgess, is exhibit CCC a slide page out of exhibit DDD?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now it'll,
Thank you for that, Your
I
Honor.
think I
I
know
now
where he's
offer
going here.
exhibit CCC for identification into evidence.
yes.
Thank you. And I also hand back to Madam Court Reporter exhibit DDD for identification.
Doesn't he?
190?
And sir, do you have before you read the three letters, please, just so we're on the same page in that exhibit?
Jim, we need to, yeah,
That the one that's in
thank you.
the one page?
Yes. Exhibit 190?
And that's the entitled All Possible Combinations?
Yes, it is.
So we'll refer to that as exhibit 190, okay?
Okay.
Have you had a fair opportunity to refresh yourself on that one-page chart?
Yes, I have.
Your Honor, may I please publish exhibit 190?
Yes.
And if we could enlarge it without, I think, Mr. Wolk, we can obscure for the moment the all positive on the right and come back to that as needed. Thank you.
I don't know. They're keeping
Now,
the camera away from her.
Mr. DeSogra, who is an expert for the defense, took the data points you evaluated in your January 30, 2025 report and simply performed the last step in your analysis that I was referring to in previous slides, correct?
Correct. For a lot of data points that do not apply for the time of the accident.
I understand you may have a view as to whether they apply or not. I'm just trying to understand
Objection.
what you understood he did.
Again,
I'll repeat. Yeah, yes,
so
Your
we'll
Honor.
strike the comment part and just a
I'll
question,
repeat and
please.
just go to the question.
All I know is that they were guessing approximately 6 to 8 weeks. The defense still has to finish their case, then rest. Then the defense will have their case. So it's a long haul.
So you understand that Mr. DeSogra took the data points that you evaluated in your January 30, 2025 report and simply performed the last step in your analysis, correct?
In my report, in addition to Dr. Welcher's.
Right. In addition to Dr.
Correct.
Now, what I
Excuse me, husband, will you please stop hitting the microphone with your papers, please?
want to do is just elucidate the columns and their meaning. So the column on the right equals the number of seconds,
Lori Daybell.
and is the far right, the number of seconds between the end of the 11:62:2 text stream event that in the slide of Dr. Welcher is ending at 12:31:43, and the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone that's occurred at 12:32:09, correct?
Correct.
And that's your understanding of that column as well.
Correct.
Now, even taking your colleague Dr. Welcher's assumption that the last user interaction on Mr. O'Keefe's phone occurred at 12:32:09 a.m. on January 29, 2022,
Thank you guys.
is Mr. DeSogra demonstrating in this chart that by using the clock variance that you calculated in your January 30 report, there are no circumstances where the trigger event of 11:62:2 occurs before the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
After.
Sustain, there's one part of your question that needs to
Okay.
be omitted.
In terms of this chart, do you agree that the methodology and application of it of Mr. DeSogra is that Mr. DeSogra took the last user interaction data point of Dr. Welcher in his slide of 12:32:09 and applied the clock variance that you calculated in your January 30th report? Do you agree that that's what Mr. DeSogra did?
No, I do not.
What do you believe Mr. DeSogra did here?
Well, so the math is correct.
Oh, thank
when
God you
he's
told us
trying
that.
to adjust clock variances between the two devices, that math is correct, but he's applying incorrect adjustments.
I understand, but what I'm trying to get at is just what
Hot
you
kettle.
understood Mr. DeSogra did in this chart.
Correct. I did understand, yes, what he
Okay.
was trying to do.
And so do you agree, based upon what Mr. DeSogra did as represented in this chart, there are no circumstances where the 11:62:2 text stream event occurs? Well, let me have you describe what you
Delayed.
believe Mr. DeSogra is doing with regard to comparing, based upon this chart, the 11:62:2 text stream event of Dr. Welcher with the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone.
Sure. So he's trying to adjust the clock from the Lexus to the Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone clock, but he does that inaccurately.
Well,
And we're gonna believe the guy that's been lying to us since yesterday? Polite pass.
I understand I understand your comment. But my question, sir, is this. What do you understand Mr. DeSogra is doing with regard to this chart? Do you understand what he is doing in this chart?
Correct.
I'd just like you to state what it is you understand he is doing.
Sure. So he's trying to adjust timestamps.
He's trying to adjust timestamps. In adjusting timestamps, do you agree that Mr. DeSogra makes the point with this chart that there are no circumstances where the 1162 trigger occurs before the lock event on John O'Keefe's phone?
Yes.
Sustained.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And during 10 of those years, he was
Let
testifying
me
as
see
an
if I can
expert.
clarify this in this my question. Do you understand that what Mr. DeSogra is doing in this chart is he is showing numerically and arithmetically that there are no circumstances where the text stream event 1162.2 occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it in that form.
Yes, I understand he's trying to show that.
Right. Well, he did more than try. Isn't that what by his math, that he is demonstrating?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
Yes, but it is inaccurate.
I understand. But that's, again, the question is that what he demonstrates using this chart?
Yes.
And what he demonstrates is that Mr. DeSoga demonstrates that there are no circumstances where the 1162.2 trigger event occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Yes, inaccurately.
So I'm asking what Mr. DeSogra demonstrates in this report, and isn't it correct that Mr. DeSogra, using this math, Mr. DeSogra demonstrates and concludes that there are no circumstances where the 1162.2 text stream event occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Does that demonstrate that?
Yes, inaccurately.
Okay.
So let's.
I'm going to move on, Your Honor. I'm going to move on.
I see you really arguing semantics on someone that has an education and is a professional in that field instead of someone that's impersonating and being a professional. Thank you guys so much for getting us to 20K likes. I appreciate it.
And this methodology and approach of Mr. DeSogra is simply math that he's using, correct?
No, it's not simply math.
Well, let's go to the clock variance values in the middle column on that chart. You see that, sir?
Yes, I do.
I really want to phone him and be like, are you sure this is the hill that you want to unalive yourself on? Because damn.
Those are, as of March 5 of the date of this,
Listen, if you come into my live and tell me to you're in the wrong live to say that to. Trust. I'm not the one.
column was created. Nothing in that middle column is new, is it? That data.
If it's that annoying, then why did you type it out? Scroll the hell on then. Go watch it on YouTube on your own. Thank you, Catnip. I'm going to eat my tuna sandwich. I was going to be quiet anyways, but because he wanted to be a jerk, we're going to be one back.
Data.
Yes, some of that data is new.
Well, the source data upon which it is created is not new, is it?
No, it is not.
All right. So the source data of that column, it's not new.
Correct.
And the middle column uses your data points from your January 30th report, correct?
No, not all of those are.
But it does use some of the data from your January 30 report, correct?
Yes, it does.
Is the reason that you did not take that final analytical step that we've been talking about in your January 30th report, and this is a question,
No, they haven't moved to strike it.
Is the reason you failed to take that final analytical support, or excuse me, final analytic step we've been talking about in your January 30 report was because you knew if you did that if you calculated the actual time of the 1162-2 text stream event based upon your own methodological analysis of the clock skew, there would always be continued interaction on Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the text stream
Yeah,
event.
babe.
No.
So you deny that?
Yes.
Did you keep your January 30, 2025 report purposefully vague by merely noting a clock skew without engaging in any further analysis, such as tethering that clock skew or otherwise connecting it to the text stream event in Dr. Welcher's slide presentation?
No, I did not.
Switch to another topic. Take that down. Thank you, Mr. Gold.
I don't think he'll ask about it. That's just his
After
own failure.
reviewing, and I'm going to identify 3 timelines. After reviewing the timelines, the timelines presented by Dr. Welcher, 1, Mr. DeSogra,
You think so?
2, and Mr. Ian Whiffen, 3, all of which established that the 1162-2 text stream event occurred before that last user activity, the lock on Mr. O'Keefe's phone. You then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8, 2025, correct? Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
No, so I issued the supplemental report based on that presentation that you just had up.
Well, before you issued that report, isn't it correct that you had reviewed the time data of Dr. Welcher in the slide that we've been reviewing?
Not before that time, no.
You had not looked at Dr. Welcher's slide with a text stream event 1162-2 and a time for that before issuing your May 8th report?
No, yes, before misheard you, yes.
That's my question.
Yes.
So let me just ask a
Miss
question.
Bird, Miss
So it is correct that before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, that you had reviewed that slide of your colleague Dr. Welcher on 1162-2 that establishes the text stream event as 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Correct.
You reviewed it before your May 8th report.
Yes.
You
yes.
also reviewed before your May 8th report the slide presentation of Mr. DeSogra, correct?
Yes, I did.
And before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, you also had reviewed the January 2025 report of Mr. Whiffen, correct?
Correct.
Each one of and all of those 3 established that the 1162-2 text stream event occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
I'm going to allow it if that's what, let's see what the answer is.
Using either unadjusted timestamps or inaccurately adjusted timestamps, yes.
Let me ask my question
No.
again, and if it's not clear, please let me know.
Sure.
After reviewing what we've discussed, prepared by Dr. Welcher, Mr. DeSogra, and Ian Whiffen, each and all of which established that the 1162-2 text stream event occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, you then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8th, 2025. Is that statement I just made correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now let's take a look at your May 8th, 2025 report. You departed in your May 8th, 2000, sir, do you have that report in
I
front
do,
of you?
yes.
Do you need a moment to look at it, or are you ready to take
No,
questions?
go ahead.
Thank you. You departed from your analysis. Let's start it this way. In this May 8th, 2025 report, you departed from your analysis in your January 2025 report to reach a conclusion that would attempt to put the 1162.2 text stream event after human interaction with Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
No, I did not depart from my original report. I clarified.
Okay, so you
Clarify.
didn't depart from it, but you, in your May 8th report, but your position is you clarified it.
Correct.
But isn't it correct that in your January 30, 2025 report, you did not address at all whether the 1162.2 text stream event occurred before or after the last user event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
But you did that in your May 8th report, correct?
Correct.
You don't call that a change, sir?
No, sir, I do not.
You call that a clarification.
I do.
Wow.
In your January 2025 report, you compared call log entries between the infotainment system on the Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone to determine a potential variance, correct?
Correct.
And call logs are discrete points in time that are fairly easy to compare.
Correct.
Now, in your May 8, 2025
Michelle.
report, you abandoned the call log analysis from your January 30th, 2025 report, correct?
No, I did not abandon it.
Thank you, Alicia.
But you did depart from it, at least in some respects, correct?
I did not depart from it. I used another method.
Thank you,
Okay.
Comedy Ed.
So
Okay.
you used another method.
Correct.
In your May 8, 2025 report, you opined, as I understand it, that the call log variance has been ignored because, in your words, this offset is measured approximately 5 hours after the time of the alleged collision and cannot be assumed to apply to other timeframes as stated in the initial report. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Now, please show the jury, in your January 30 report, where you ever made that statement.
Drum roll, please. Should we take bets on whether or not it's in there?
Sure. So that would, it's not worded exactly like that, but that would be in conclusion 5.
And conclusion number 5 is on page 37 of your January 30, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
And you
I agree.
concede at least as much that at least different words are used in paragraph 5 in your January 30th, 2025 report, correct? And your position is that
Does that look like Diddy? It says that on the screen right below my face.
It's the same statement as in your May 8th, 2025 report? Because that's my question.
That is correct.
In your May 8th, 2025 report, instead of applying the offsets from the call logs, which are discrete points in time that are fairly easy to compare, as you stated just moments ago, you decided to use, in your words, quote, approximate time of the 3-point turn as your anchor between the two devices. Do I have that right?
Yes, you did.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Isn't what you did and we just discussed a classic example of confirmation bias, which is to be avoided in science?
No, it is not.
So you believe that that is not confirmation bias?
No.
Choosing the 3-point turn as the independent data source is the only way you could ever get the text stream event to even possibly occur after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
That adjustment is the only adjustment that can be applied due to the data. Yes.
And that adjustment is the only thing that can be done to get the text stream event 1162.2 to occur after the lock on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
Did you miss it?
And that only one is the one that you chose, correct?
Correct.
And that's only because it's not a pinpoint in time. It's an amorphous range that can only, in your words, be approximated, correct?
No, that is because it is the only time adjustment in that time range that can be applied.
So it's your view that that's the only one that can be applied, but it is even what you're using is, in your words, an approximate time, correct?
Correct.
Isn't the shortcoming, sir, in your analysis that you ignored the additional user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's device that occurred after the lock event?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes, I can. Isn't the shortcoming in your analysis, sir, that your analysis ignores the additional user activity on John O'Keefe's device, his cell phone, that occurred after the lock event?
No.
Well, let's take a look at events that, you tell me if I'm correct or not, occur after the text stream event 1162.2.
Sure.
So do you recall our discussion yesterday about the Apple Health Data event of 36 steps covering a distance of over 84 feet? Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall that that occurred at 12:32:16?
Yes, I do.
It should be.
And that's after the text stream event of Dr. Welcher that he put in his slide, correct?
Correct.
Do you also recall a Doppler pocket state detection at 12:33:14? Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And that is almost an entire minute after the 1162.2 text stream event that is identified by your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, in his slide presentation, correct?
Correct. And neither one of those are user interaction.
I understand but let's just take one of them.
Sure.
At this point, when is he going to just cut his losses? Like, you can't make us think that your father time and you could change all the times and that nothing else matters except for what you say when you're the one that doesn't even have a degree in the field that you're being an expert in. Like, they clearly need to reevaluate what they consider to be an expert.
and that is the Apple Health Data event of 36 steps covering a distance of 84 feet at 12:32:16. Would you agree that those steps covering that distance is human activity at least? Would you agree that's human activity?
Yes.
Thank you.
Or plead the fifth.
Let's take a look at opinion number
Okay, go ahead.
7 in your initial January 30th, 2025 report. And sir, tell me when you had a fair opportunity to locate that.
Okay.
Zero credibility. None whatsoever. I really wish I could see the jury's faces during all of
You
this.
concluded to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that, quote, the infotainment module power on events were on average recorded 3 seconds after the ignition release or finger off, correct?
Correct.
That means that your own testing requires an offset of -3 to account for a delay in the power on of an infotainment system, correct?
Correct.
That increases the time between the TechStream event 1162.2 and the iPhone lock event by 3 seconds, correct?
Correct.
You testified about this same 3-second discrepancy yesterday during your direct examination in connection with your January 30, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
However, you did not mention this offset of 3 seconds in your May 8th, 2025 report, did you?
No, I did not. Can I explain?
No.
Mr. Brennan may have questions for you with regard to that. So
Thank you, Cora.
nowhere in your May 8, 2025 report did you include the 3-second offset that you discussed in your January 30, 2025 report, did you?
Correct.
And in fact, sir, nowhere in your May 8th report do you even discuss why you're not addressing that 3-second, do you?
I do not discuss it, but it is, that offset is adjusted within the adjustment that we do with the 3-point turn.
I understand. My question is simply, there's no discussion in your May 8th, 2025 report how or why you're not discussing that 3-second offset, correct?
Correct.
I've got a next section, Your Honor, if you would like me to move into it.
So why don't we keep going?
Okay.
Look,
Sir,
she
a
was saying get ready to
TechStream data
break. I'm like,
event
what?
like 1162.2 does not, well, let me back up this way. You testified on direct that you're involved in accident reconstruction. That's part of the work that you do, sir?
No, that is not part of the work that I do.
Well, let me clarify that. Do you at all understand whether there's an issue as to whether a collision actually occurred in this case? Do you understand if that's an issue?
Objection.
Assist me.
Sir, do you have any understanding about what Dr. Welcher in his slide presentation was addressing in context with this case? Do you understand it?
Objection.
I'll allow a yes or no.
No, I do not.
So you have no idea what your colleague, Dr. Welcher, who's working on the same case, was addressing in his slide presentation?
Generally, yes, but I cannot speak to it.
What do you generally understand?
Objection.
Sustained.
What understanding do you have after reading Dr. Welcher's slide presentation?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it to.
Do
Sustained.
you have any understanding? Can we approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Sidebar number 3. Or is it 4? It's 3, right? 3? Not 4? It is 4? Okay. He's getting ready for something because his voice always gets, like, really, you could tell when he's about to just nail it. You can always tell with him. I'm glad he's my second husband. Well, technically my third, but who's counting? Don't worry, we practice patient with
And I'll
parameters.
start with your conclusion,
Wait a
and I'm
second.
going to reference your May 8th, 2025 report, sir. If you could turn to the conclusion section of your report, which is on page 7. And I'm going to start with, and I may just end with, we'll see conclusion number 1. Please take a fair opportunity to read that. Pick your head up when you have concluded that fair reading.
He looks like he's like expecting pain. Unless he does. He's like,
Okay.
Now, that paragraph 1 states, under conclusions, you say the following can be stated to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. 1, as noted in my initial report, the only call logs that can be used to compare and synchronize the clocks between Ms. Reed's Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone are those occurring between 5:21 a.m. and 5:30 a.m., which occur approximately 5 hours after the collision. You see that, sir?
I do, yes.
Now, what I'd like you to do is to go back in your report.
Same report?
Yes, sir, same report, May 8th. And I'd like you to turn to page 3.
Okay.
And if you could
oh,
go
he does.
to the 4th full paragraph that begins with 2 events near the time. And let me know, sir, when you're there. And if you could read that paragraph, pick your head up after you've had a fair opportunity to read it.
They do. That's a dream team. They are the dream team. And they're not even done yet.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, you state 2 events near the time of the collision were recorded by the Lexus system as identified by Dr. Welcher and referenced by Mr. DeSogra. The first event, labeled TechStream Event 1162-1,
Remind me.
is associated with a 3-point turn on Cedar Crest Road. The second event, labeled TechStream Event 1162-2, is associated with a reverse maneuver on Fairview Road. These events will be referenced below for clock synchronization analysis.
Thank you for
The
the follow.
timestamps associated with these 2 events are based on a combination of the Lexus Infotainment Power On event and TechStream time count. Did I read that correctly, sir?
Yes, you did.
So in the same paragraph, am I correct that you're discussing a couple of TechStream events, 1162-1 and 1162-2?
Yes.
And you are talking about that TechStream event in the same paragraph as you're talking about an alleged collision, correct?
Correct.
And in your paragraph of your conclusion that we were referencing, conclusion 1, is this paragraph part of the basis for that conclusion 1? Is this sort of like some predicate analysis for conclusion number 1?
No, it is not.
So it has your view, it has no relationship whatsoever to conclusion 1.
No, correct.
So let's go
I don't know if she does, but I know she does do fundraisers.
to your discussion of a collision and a TechStream event. let's go back to paragraph 3. You see, you mentioned the word collision in paragraph 3, correct?
I do not.
Where are
I'm
you?
sorry, I just have paragraph 3. I meant page 3, sir. Page 3.
Yes, page 3? Yes.
Page 3, that paragraph we were just looking at, paragraph 4.
Yes, sorry, yes, I do see
You see
collision.
the word, use of the word collision.
Yes,
And again, that term is used in the same paragraph as you're identifying text stream events 1162.1 and 1162.2, correct?
correct.
Where did you get the basis to use the word collision at that part of your report?
That would have been from crash reports,
And whose crash reports?
the Massachusetts State Police.
So you used Massachusetts State Police reports to discuss allegations of a crash, collision.
Yes,
Do you state anywhere in your May 8th report that you used those reports at all? Do you list it in your references?
no, not in this report, no.
Cue the
And
tomatoing.
as a matter of
He's
fact,
gonna get red.
this is the first time, right this previous moment, that you are mentioning those reports at all, correct?
No, those were mentioned in my initial report.
But I'm talking about your May 8th report.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Okay. Your statements, and I want to clarify this because this is the ultimate topic I want to go to.
I don't think he's ending though.
It is not your conclusion that every text stream data event means that there is a collision. Do you, sir?
No, that is not my conclusion.
So isn't it correct that you can have text stream events and they're not collisions?
Yes, you can.
And isn't it a fact that a text stream event, sometimes called a trigger event, is not like an airbag type deploying, correct? They're just, and we're going to get to this later, it's just something that happens with
If
a
even.
Lexus vehicle that can cause the vehicle to register a text stream event, correct?
Correct,
And some people refer to text stream event as a trigger, correct?
correct,
But there's many things that can happen with a vehicle that can cause a trigger, correct?
correct.
We will come back to that. So you would agree, again, that a text stream trigger event does not mean that there was a collision, correct?
Correct,
A text stream data event doesn't mean that airbags were deployed, correct?
correct,
A trigger data event doesn't mean that there was a vehicle impact, correct?
by itself, no.
By itself, it doesn't mean, correct?
Correct,
A text stream data event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications databases and not devices and transporting that data for immediate processing and storage or for real-time analysis and analytics reporting, correct?
I don't think I understand your question.
It might be above
If
your
you could
education
rephrase.
level,
Sure.
sir.
A text stream event merely refers to Lexus's
Right?
practice of capturing real-time data from applications and databases. Is that correct?
I would not call it applications and databases, no.
I'll have you know that I'm a former senior admissions advisor for an online university, and I changed lives.
What would you call it?
So from various sensors or other modules on the vehicle.
Okay, so it's Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from various sensors and modules on the vehicle, right?
Correct.
Why don't we stop here, Mr. Lessie?
Yes.
Okay, folks, we'll take our morning recess, so it's just 20 minutes.
I was about to say, what the hell do you mean, let's stop here? He clearly clearly could have, because he still, after 17 years, doesn't have that degree. Kathy, I had to on that one. I had to. Then again, to work as a university counselor, you need a bachelor's degree. He does not have that. We practice patience with parameters in here so we don't have to wait. Hold on. Let's get right back into it.
Mr.
Thank you for the
Pelosi,
follow.
whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Burgess,
He's not as red now.
I'm going to pick up, sir, where we left off.
Thank you for the
A
follow.
text stream trigger event does not automatically mean there was a collision, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event doesn't, without more, mean an airbag deployed, correct?
Correct.
A trigger data event doesn't mean, without more, that there was a vehicle impact, correct?
Correct.
A text stream event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications and databases, correct?
Sensors and other modules.
That's right, you
Correct.
said that earlier, sir. Sensors and modules. You reviewed the raw text stream trigger events on Miss Reed's vehicle, correct?
No, I did not.
Oh, you did not?
No.
He asked that for a reason, but good afternoon, Barbie. How are you?
Do you understand do you have an understanding whether
Hi, Kathy.
Mr. DeSogra reviewed those events in his March 5, 2025 report?
I do not.
So you did not review the raw data for text stream trigger events on Ms. Reed's vehicle, and you did not therefore perform any analysis of that data as you sit here today, correct?
Correct. Outside of what Dr. Welcher provided.
Yes, Kelsey. We start late every day so we can fast forward through the breaks. Thank you, Barbie. By the way, guys, if you're new here, make sure you drop a follow on this side because that's just my backup. I don't always bring it live with me, so you want to follow this side.
Are you aware that there were approximately 30 text stream trigger events in an 8-month period on Ms. Reed's vehicle?
No, I'm not.
Assume the data shows that in the mere 8-month period that Ms. Reed owned her vehicle, the Lexus in question, there were 30 text stream trigger events. Assume that. You would not conclude that there were 30 collisions in that 8-month period, would you?
No, I would not.
Would you agree, sir, that there were
Right?
actually 2 triggers on January 29th?
Yes.
And the first trigger that you referred to of 1162-1, that was not a collision, was it, sir?
Without reviewing the data, I don't know.
Well, as you sit here today, you have no basis to state that the 1162-1 trigger was a collision, do you?
No, I do not.
And in fact, didn't you refer to that as a 3-point turn?
I did, yes.
And you didn't mention in your direct testimony when you talked about the 3-point turn anything about a collision, did you?
No, I did not.
And as you sit here today, there's no fact or data that you have to conclude that there was any supposed collision associated with that 1162-1 3-point turn trigger event, correct?
Correct.
Who are you done with? Him or Alessi?
a
Hopefully
trigger
him.
event can occur on a Lexus vehicle by a whole host of possibilities, correct?
Correct.
You could maybe slam on the brakes and cause a trigger event.
That is one possibility.
You could
We used to have the saying, if Chloe bit, you must have quit. But we might need to change that. No, they're still working up to that big moment.
have just unusual driving. You could be going at a speed or doing something else that
Just
has
date.
nothing at all to do with a collision, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you for the follow.
And in fact, there are almost countless events that can occur that can cause a trigger event in a Lexus vehicle.
So I don't know the exact count of what type of triggers there are, but yes, there are
There are
a
many.
number. Yes.
So back to the 1162-1 three-point turn trigger event. On your direct examination, you just referred to event surrounding that as a three-point turn, correct?
Correct.
And yet that three-point turn registered as a trigger event, right?
Correct.
Are Lexus SUVs trigger happy?
I do not know, sir.
As you sit here today, three-point turn registered as a trigger event, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Are Lexus SUVs trigger happy?
I do not know, sir.
As you sit here today, none of the information in that black box that you referred to on your direct testimony indicates that there was a collision on January 29th, does it?
Not by itself. No.
Not by itself.
Correct.
And it does
Can I just ask if this is the hill that you want to unalive on because you're really making it seem that way and it's not worth that much, sir?
doesn't occur, that none of the
Message me
information
what
in that
sticker
black
we
box indicates that there was a collision on any day without more, correct?
Correct.
So you just make more on your own.
I'd like to now turn to a different topic, sir.
I don't know if there's been a more epic moment. Is Alexis trigger happy? I wasn't expecting. I'm sitting here. I still haven't even finished writing down my thought. I was in the middle and I heard him say that and I just lost it.
In your direct examination, you referenced a Miss Maggie Gaffney. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
If he doesn't get fired first.
And wasn't part of your reference to her a criticism of her for some of the work that she did with respect to the Lexus SUV?
Yes, it was.
Thank you, first.
And for instance, you criticized her for failing to extract the micro SD card from the circuit board during the initial chip off, right?
So, sure. So I did criticize for not identifying the micro SD card and subsequently not downloading it. Yes.
So the thing that you missed the first time, you criticized somebody else for missing? Too much value on yourself. I don't know.
And on direct, you even tried to lay at her footsteps, if you will, your bits, bytes misinterpretation on her by claiming that you assumed, quote, a competent expert, close quote, would not have overlooked a relevant chip, so you became confused how there could be data missing. Is that a fair characterization?
No, it is not.
Dude, where the hell did you get the audacity to say... No, you know what? Hold on.
And wasn't part of your reference to her a criticism of her for some of the work that she did with respect to the Lexus SUV?
Yes, it was.
And for instance, you criticized her for failing to extract the micro SD card from the circuit board during the initial chip off, right?
So, sure. So I did criticize for not identifying the micro SD card and subsequently not downloading it. Yes.
And on direct, you even tried to lay at her footsteps, if you will, your bits bytes misinterpretation on her by claiming that you assumed, quote, a competent expert, close quote, would not have overlooked a relevant chip, so you became confused how there could be data missing. Is that a fair?
Do you really want to question somebody else's competency compared to yours, sir? Like, what the hell?
characterization?
No, it is not.
Okay, have a good day.
Did you at all try to use as a justification for your misunderstanding of bits and bytes that it was her work?
Her word? you
Her
say?
work.
Her work.
Yes, her work.
So it was the, overlooking of the SD card. Yes.
Right. So you did try to lay at her footsteps part of the reason why you misinterpreted the bits and bytes that we discussed yesterday. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct.
Always blaming
Okay.
somebody else.
So
Take some
you would
accountability,
agree
sir.
then that the bits and bytes misinterpretation that you and I discussed yesterday had nothing to do with the work of Ms. Gaffney, correct?
So in part, but that was my mistake. Yes.
All right. I'm trying to understand which is it.
You call it a mistake. I
Is
call
it-
it sabotage.
Ms. Gaffney's work had some part in your misinterpretation of bits and bytes, or her work had no part in your misinterpretation of bits and bytes?
Some part.
So you do attempt to lay some blame on Ms. Gaffney for your misinterpretation of bits and bytes, correct?
No, I'm not trying to blame anyone.
Okay.
Are you sure?
In your January 30, 2025 report, are you consistent with your criticism of Ms. Gaffney?
As I recall, yeah, I believe so. Yes.
No, it's not live.
In fact, you yourself provided the explanation for why the micro SD card was not extracted during the original chip off, didn't you?
Yes, that it was overlooked.
Right. So if you could please.
You know what, Sarah Sue? I didn't even think about it. He's lonely. He's lonely. No excuse, sir.
Turn to page 5 of your January 30, 2025 report. Okay.
His loneliness is trying to get a woman put away for a crime she didn't commit, in my opinion.
And sir, when you get there, if you could let me know, and I will then proceed with questions.
This live is delayed, you guys. I start late every day so we can fast forward through all the breaks.
Okay.
Never mind. Showers
So
got me covered.
you do attribute to Ms. Gaffney in your report some responsibility for this micro SD card not being extracted during the original chip off. Is that correct?
Yes.
So let's go to page 5 of your report, sir.
Thank you, Monica. It's looking that way.
And bear with me, I want to get you the exact location.
I know. I couldn't agree more. That's something we brought up yesterday too, because they were saying how much Hank wanted this to be mistrial, so, don't count against him. I started to wonder that. I have. We were talking about that yesterday. I'm side-eyeing the hell out of the prosecution. And the witness. Like, was this
I
planned?
don't have it exactly, but I want to quote it. Your Honor, may I have a moment to get the exact quote?
Sure.
Thank you.
I don't either. There is nothing about this trial that I trust or anyone that's in it other than the Dream Team. This is so weird of a position to be in. I'm not used to being on the defensive side for a trial. Yes, free Karen Read. This is... Michelle, calm down. Yeah, that's something I couldn't figure out, was how many times you could get mistrials. Thank you, Charlie. My understanding when I looked it up was that as long as they changed the charges, but I don't even think that was right. With prejudice, 100%. 100%. Okay, do we think that after they're done here, that they're going to try to get this thrown out? Is there another voir dire in our future? Is Mr. Brennan applying for his next job?
Mr. Burgess, if you could turn to
You said it when they showed Brennan, Catnip.
page 5, as I was referencing, and go to the third full paragraph. If you could look about 2/3 of the way down the
Really?
far right, you see the word where it starts with at. It's the
6
paragraph
times?
beginning when examining vehicle
Yes,
systems.
I
You see
do.
that,
Yes,
sir?
I see it.
And do you see the at that is at the very far right of that paragraph?
Yes.
So it says, at the time of the incident, Burla, and Burla is
Thank you for the
what?
follow.
Can you read?
Burla is a company that offers and develops forensic hardware and software for vehicle modules.
Right.
I thought he was going to say it's... we try to... Never mind. For his education.
So at the time of the incident, Burla did not offer support
Oh, God,
for the infotainment and telematics modules removed from the Lexus, but have since released updated software indicating similar modules are supported via in-vehicle acquisition. According to Burla, currently, there are 2 known and documented modules within the vehicle that have the
Plausible deniability, Catnip. You got to give me plausible deniability.
capability to store data. The infotainment module removed from Ms. Reed's Lexus is consistent with the MMU documented by Burla and has been identified as containing an internal micro SD card not acquired during the initial chip-off acquisition by Ms. Gaffney. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
So as you stated, Burla is the organization that you described, which for the purpose you did, I'm not going to repeat it on direct examination. If I could...
Well, I think there's a lot of evidence of prosecutorial misconduct. A lot of it. A lot. Right? They do need to be charged. Everyone that perjured themselves and lied about their expertise.
sort of put in layman's terms, and see, you tell me if this is correct. Burla produces hardware and
Stop
software
using your expression lines.
to make it easier for non-technical people, as you put it, to extract data from a vehicle, correct?
Correct.
You describe in your January 30, 2025 report that at the time of the initial chip-off, Burla did not provide support for the information contained on the micro SD card, correct?
No, so I think you're misreading that last sentence.
You really want to tell us that our second husband is misreading stuff? Really? And we can't confirm that, find that out one way or another, and we may never know. But I did hear whispers of that. We just can't confirm that.
And I can clarify.
Can you read the last sentence, sir?
I can. So the infotainment module removed from Ms. Reed's Lexus is consistent with the MMU documented by Burla and has been identified as containing an internal micro SD card not acquired during the initial chip-off acquisition by Ms. Gaffney.
So my question is, did or did not Burla at the time of the initial chip-off by Ms. Gaffney, provide the technical support to address the information contained on the micro SD card?
No, Berla did not and does not.
Good, that I wanted to.
That was my identifier
Right,
of the micro SD card.
understood.
Correct.
So we can throw that out the window too, 'cause it
not
was yours.
until after the initial chip-off that Ms. Gaffney participated in that Berla updated their software to be able to identify the types of data, for Berla software to be able to identify the types of data contained within the micro SD card on the Lexus circuit board. Is that correct?
No, that's incorrect.
So Berla didn't do anything new after the initial chip-off with its software?
Sure. So Berla released new software after the initial chip off that addresses being able to download software via the infotainment module while it's in the vehicle. So that involves plugging a USB in to the vehicle and downloading data. That does not address the micro SD card on the circuit board itself.
Now think of it this way. If you're the defense and you have the proof that this guy lied about his education, he's lying on the stand, this is a golden opportunity to get one of those times through the jury where you can disregard it, but you can't unhear this. You can't unknow this. So either which way, yeah, they could move to have it thrown out, and they should, but this is an opportune moment to prove what they're doing, how dirty they
And
are.
Ms. Gaffney did not have, at the time of the initial chip-off, that updated Berla software,
In my
correct?
opinion.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate your questioning. Thank you for answering my questions. That's all I have at this time, Your Honor, but I have a bit to pack up, so Mr. Brennan can have a clear podium.
Go right ahead.
Thank you.
Well done, second husband. Well done. I feel like he should bow at this point. Well, what issue is? If you typed something before you said, do you know what the issue is? I didn't see it. It's not in the chat. So which issue? TikTok does auto filter. I have filtering off, but they do filter it. So you might need to reword it because it didn't come through. This is the new trial.
Thank you for that opportunity.
I
Your
don't know
Honor.
if it's on Discovery. Why? Because he lied that much. He lied and they had to unpack all the lies and make sure the jury knew exactly what he did. They had a lot of questions and there was a lot of lies. Thank you for the follow. I'm so proud of him. I love that guy. Mm-hmm. 17 years he's been going. Me too. So much so that we even have a space.
Good
Let me
afternoon.
show you.
Good afternoon.
But it's your second husband
Do you
too,
know what a
Catnip.
sequestration order is?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
So it would be an order to not view any testimony of a trial. Is my
Hold the hell on. Is this the moment where Brennan goes to bury everything he did to the point to where he even says, we knew he was probably going to go at him sideways for this because, you know, he didn't verify and check all this shit out. How bad do you think this is going to be?
general understanding?
Does that mean that you can't watch any of it on television?
Correct.
Do you understand whether or not you can speak to attorneys about testimony? Is that
Sir Quish, hold on. My words are failing. I'll let you listen again. Sir Quish,
Of a trial?
I cannot do
Is
that
my
word.
general understanding?
Sir
does that mean
Quish,
that you can't watch any of it on television?
Correct.
hold on.
Do you understand?
Oh, 100%. 100% it will. 100% it will affect the jury. You can't go through 2 days of testimony this catastrophic and it not affect. Yeah, Brennan. I'll remember that.
Good
On
afternoon.
Mondays only. Circulation. I cannot. Why can't I
You
say
know what a
that?
sequestration order is?
That thing.
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
So it would be an order to not view any testimony of a trial, is my general understanding.
Does that mean that you can't watch any of it on television?
Correct.
Do you understand whether or not you can speak to attorneys about testimony? Is that precluded as well?
I'm not aware either way.
Has anybody ever spoken to you about?
Aware either way.
Has anybody ever spoken to you about any testimony about that occurred in this trial before you testified?
No, they have not.
Have I ever discussed, intimated, or suggested any information whatsoever to you about arguments, testimony, or anything about this case as it's ongoing?
No, you have not.
Do you follow
Listen, buddy, this is your moment. If he did do that, just say yes, you sure the hell did.
the rules, sir?
Yes, I
Mine
do.
too,
Have
Bubbles.
you followed them in this case?
Yes, I have.
When you gave your opinions and you've testified, do you have any information or knowledge about this trial as it actually occurred until the point when you testified?
No, I do not.
You were asked some questions about your CV. A CV is a resume?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you were asked about a LinkedIn account.
Yes, I was.
Is your LinkedIn account different than your CV?
Yes, it is.
And in this case, when did you learn that your LinkedIn account was wrong or had not been updated? When was the first time you learned that?
That was yesterday.
When you started your LinkedIn account,
No, hold the hell on. You need to take some damn accountability, sir.
do you remember when it was you set it up?
I do not. It would have been maybe 10 years ago or more.
Do you routinely update your LinkedIn account?
No, I do not.
When you set up your
We made that obvious yesterday. And if it's a mistrial, they can choose to try again, yes.
LinkedIn account, the section where it asks for education, whether graduated or ongoing, do you remember filling out that section?
I don't particularly remember filling it out, but obviously I did at some point.
Right, Julie? I
When
remember.
you were asked about Aperture's website, how many experts are associated with Aperture?
I could give you a rough number between 80 and 100,
Yeah,
How many
it's
offices?
over.
15 or so.
Are you involved in the website design or content?
No, I'm not.
Do you know if Aperture gets the information from their website directly from LinkedIn?
I don't know where they get all of their information from.
Did you ever weigh in or develop your information that was on Aperture's website?
No, not on the website.
So hold the hell on. You expect to keep your job when you're going to go up there and blame your company that you work for not having your education level updated. Are you serious?
You do provide CVs before you come to court, don't you?
Yes, I do.
In this case, you were asked by the defense, when you provide your CV, do you understand that it's going to be reviewed by whoever requests it, the Commonwealth or the defense,
Yes, I do.
and that it will
Roughly
be
a week.
shared with both sides in the court?
Yes.
In fact, the first time you provided a CV in this case, was it October 11, 2014?
Objection, Your Honor.
So the leading nature sustained.
Do you remember the first time you provided a CV in this case?
It would have been around October
What year?
of 2024, sorry.
And when you provided that, was it as an exhibit to something?
Yes, if I recall, it was as an exhibit to the initial protocol that I sent out.
And when you submitted that CV, did you appreciate whether or not it would be part of a court filing in public?
Yes, I did.
If I could have exhibit 183, please.
When your name is on something, you better
183.
take your own accountability. I don't know if he's not registering the actual consequences here. They couldn't have
Could
paid you that
enlarge the
much.
top section. Right there is good. And sir, when you provided this CV to be filed with the court and made public, did you indicate that you had obtained a bachelor degree?
No, I did not.
Why did you put currently pursuing?
Because I am currently pursuing a bachelor's degree.
And did you understand your CV was received by the defense and they knew this?
Yes, I do understand that.
Subsequently,
No, we don't want a mistrial. The last mistrial got them to a new trial. It's my opinion that that's what the prosecution wants, is a reason to mistrial, to give this to somebody else, to make it somebody else's problem. We don't want mistrial. We want this thrown the hell out with prejudice.
you were asked to provide an updated CV in April 2025.
Yes, I was.
Did you do that?
I did.
And can we have Exhibit 184?
That's the question. Why wasn't it? You're welcome.
Did you further appreciate this would be provided to both the court and the defense?
Yes, I did.
Did you represent to the defense that your education included earning a bachelor degree?
No, I did not.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. I feel like we're children
You've
at this
testified
point.
in,
Whoa.
you can take that down, please. You've testified in many other cases
I have. Yes.
in courts around the country.
Yes, I have.
And when you've testified in other courts around the country, do you know whether there are transcripts of your actual testimony?
Yes, I believe there are.
Have you ever represented in any court that you achieved your bachelor's degree?
No, I have not.
Have you ever inflated your qualifications in a court?
No, I have not.
When I asked you about some of your background, you told us that you had certificates in Celebrite and Axiom. I didn't go through all of the qualifications and all the accomplishments you had, did I?
No, you did not.
Do you have professional certifications, GIAC, Advanced Smartphone Forensic Analysis?
Yes, I do.
Do you have professional certification from CCME, Celebrite Certified Mobile Examiner?
Sustained.
Do you have professional certifications as a Magnet Certified Forensic Examiner?
Sustained for the same reason.
I'm sorry?
Sustained for the same reason.
Do you have a number of certificates that I did not ask you about?
Yes, you do. I
Can you
do.
share some of those with us?
Sure. So one of those is going to be GIAC, Advanced Smartphone Forensics. So that's going to be Global Information Assurance certification. And that is basically a 40-hour class or 48-hour class with a test at the end to get that certification. There's also a Celebrite Certified Mobile Examiner certification that is specifically to, kind of demonstrate your knowledge of the Celebrite software, as well as Magnet Forensics certifications, again, for their software specifically.
Any certifications regarding computer
There we
hacking?
go.
What was that last part? Sorry.
Any certifications regarding computer hacking?
No, not currently.
Did you also take any classes regarding crash data or BOSH?
Yes, I have.
What do you have for certificates in that arena?
So those certifications would be Crash Data Retrieval Technician and Crash Data Retrieval Analyst. So those courses would be around acquiring and analyzing crash data from airbag control modules.
You mentioned that you had over 700 hours
Yes.
Yes, I do.
of classes and certification.
Yes, that's of classes and classes and seminars or conferences, specifically in digital forensics or vehicle forensics.
Do you need a bachelor's degree to be competent and achieve in this area?
No, I do not.
Is a bachelor's degree a prerequisite of success in a particular field?
No, it is not.
You ever hear of Bill Gates,
Yes,
Stephen Jobs,
yes.
Oprah Winfrey?
Sustained.
You had become engaged in this case in October 2024.
Correct.
And when you first became engaged, you had a chance to look at photographs and some data.
Yes, I did.
At that point, you hadn't had a chance. Did you have had you had a chance to actually inspect any of the physical property?
No, I had not.
Did you have an understanding that somebody else did?
Yes, I did.
Who?
Miss Gaffney and a number of other people with the MSP.
Attended some type of procedure?
Correct.
And do you know who led the actual procedure?
As far as I'm aware, it would have been Miss Gaffney.
The defense expert?
Correct.
You filed a protocol. What was the purpose in October when you first got involved in filing a protocol?
Sure. So the first purpose of the protocol was just to address the fact that we were missing data that we expected, and address a potential solution to gather more data.
Without having looked at the physical property, the actual boards, how did you conclude simply on data and photographs that there was missing data?
Sure. So that would be reviewing the initial data that was provided, and not seeing user data like I would expect. And that's because there's a number of different chips that are on a circuit board for an infotainment or telematics or any other module. And there's a number of different data bearing chips. The purpose of those chips will vary. Some chips' main purpose is to store user data. Some chips' main purpose is to store software or firmware. So if you're gathering, acquiring data from chips that only have software and firmware, then you would not expect, or you would not see user data within those chips.
When you made that analysis and concluded that there was missing data, had there been any report provided by Ms. Gaffney suggesting there was missing data?
No, there was not.
Had there been any analysis or opinion alerting that there was missing data?
No, there was not.
Was there anything to indicate that the person who did this test missed data at that point?
No, not at that point.
When you decided to write a protocol so you could actually look at the boards and do analysis, did you put that protocol in writing?
Yes, I did.
And do you remember if that was around October 10th, 2024?
That sounds familiar. Yes.
Now, when you were cross-examined, the attorney asked you if you knew what the word mendacity meant. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And you didn't know. Do you now know that means to lie or be untruthful?
Sustained.
He didn't ask you a question. He just asked you if you knew what the word was. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember he also, on cross-examination, suggested that when you had your mistake about megabytes, megabits, it was the defense expert that alerted you to that mistake? Do you remember that suggestion by the defense?
Yes, I do.
Did they ever show you the documents so you could see the chronology?
No, they did not.
You wrote a report on October 10, 2024. Did you then write another report, a supplemental protocol?
Yes, so I did write that initial protocol and then a supplemental protocol.
Was that on October 17, 2024?
That sounds about right.
When you wrote that a week later, at that point, had you realized your mistake?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Why did you?
Can we approach, please?
Okay.
AJ's not having this. There's a sidebar for, I think, pretty self-explanatory reasons. Listen, Mr. Brennan, when you're at this point, I wouldn't go and try to attack the witnesses of the defense plans to call. Let's just deal with the mess that you made, and that's right in everyone's face right now, because the jury, they see it. You brought somebody in to try to lie.
Corrected it with a supplemental protocol. Do you remember what date that was?
Not specifically, I do not.
Okay. If I showed you your report, would that help your memory?
Yes, it would.
May I approach?
Yes.
Think of it this way. You just found out they brought up somebody that literally just keeps replying and it's just repetitive for him. And you brought him up, and now you're going to try to shift blame. You're going to get that jury turned against you really quick, Mr. Brennan. Really damn quick. If it's not already. Let's hope.
Please don't read this, just look at it. And if it refreshes your memory, let me know, and then I'll ask you a question.
Yes, it does.
And all the lawsuits. Yep.
When did you correct your error with the supplemental protocol?
That was on October 17th, 2024.
He's totally, like, in my opinion, the look he's given, he's detached himself. Nobody,
And
except
Do you
maybe
remember the
prosecution.
date that you first received any information from Mr. DeSorga?
No, I do not
Do you
specifically.
remember the date when Mr. DeSorga's information was first filed?
No, I do not.
And do you know if it was, whether it was after your October 17th supplementary report?
Not specifically, but I believe it was after.
And so when it was suggested that you had to be schooled or advised by Mr. DeSorga, was that accurate?
Objection, Your Honor.
Worded differently. Worded differently.
The claim that was made that you weren't aware until someone advised you of your error, was that true?
No, that was untrue.
The claim it's not true. Homie, you just said that like 5 minutes ago.
When
hell?
you realized there was an error and you put it in a report, were you ever dissuaded from publicly alerting all the parties of your mistake?
No,
Do you leave stuff in or out of a report if you find it helpful or hurtful to one side?
no, I do not.
Have you, in this effort that you've made in this case, have you always been encouraged to provide all information regardless of what it is?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow that.
Yes, I have.
And who's encouraged you to always provide all information regardless of what it
No,
says?
no one. So my job is to assist the jury. So the jury, assisting the jury means presenting all the information.
Are you
Have
effing
you
with
ever
me?
been discouraged by me?
No, I have not.
When you looked at the photographs and you looked at the boards without actually touching them, how long did it take you to figure out that there was some other vehicle for data?
Sure. So it took a few times to look at the photographs before I identified the micro SD card slot.
You were asked whether it's important to be accurate and reliable. Is it in this field?
Yes, it is.
And
And you've done a bang up job of it so far, might I add.
if data is not found on the chips, is it a standard practice to look elsewhere?
Yes, that would be a standard practice.
Was that done in this case before you became involved?
No, it was not.
Who was the first person to identify where the missing information was?
Throw everybody under the bus like we know you're about to.
Myself.
What happens if you miss information because you don't see it?
So if you miss information, that's information that won't help in the analysis.
In this case, the information on the SD card that you found, how important was that to this entire analysis?
It was important to timestamp certain events.
Without that information in the SD card, would you have been able to so accurately timestamp certain events?
No, not so accurately.
Before you were involved, was that information, that very important information for timestamps, was that available for either side?
No.
So accurately, almost made me choke on my soda.
It was not.
Is it now?
It is.
You were asked about Burla. When Burla did not have updated software to simply plug into a car and download the information, what process would have to be used?
Sure. So best practice for vehicle forensics is if the module or a vehicle is not supported by a forensic tool, would be to remove that module, or let me start over, manually document the screens on that infotainment module if it's available and it can be powered up. But then also going through disassembling the module, identifying any type of chips or SD cards that may hold data, and acquiring that data.
Is that called a chip-off process?
It is called a chip-off process.
Does it describe the process well, chip-off?
Yes, it does.
Since Ms. Gaffney did the original analysis and did that chip-off, has the software updated?
Yes.
Is that the Burla software?
No, I'm sorry. So she has not done a updated analysis with the Burla software.
Hold the hell on. You didn't know something, so you just said yes and then caught yourself and realized that you gave the wrong answer? Where did they find these guys?
But has the Burla software itself updated?
So the Burla software itself has updated, but it is limited to again, plugging in a USB into the infotainment module while it's in the car running.
Does the updates in Burla software have anything to do with the SD card?
No, it does not.
Why not?
Because again, they're going a different route to acquire data, and they are acquiring a limited amount of data through what's called diagnostic logs. So if you think of diagnostic logs, your radio unit is keeping logs of any time things happen on the radio for manufacturer purposes. So Burla is taking those logs and they can interpret some of those logs. They are not acquiring all the data that is on the SD card itself.
You have drafted a number of reports in this case.
I have, yes.
Regarding the chip-off process, did Ms. Gaffney ever write a report?
No, not that I'm aware of.
When you wrote reports in this case, do you expect for them to be shared?
Yes, I do.
When other experts, like, for example, Mr. DeSorga writes a report, do you expect to have a copy and review it?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
What is the standard practice when there are reports from different experts regarding the same subject matter?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Is there a standard practice
Sure.
regarding reviewing reports from similar experts in similar subject matter?
Sure. So anytime a report is written by an expert, that report would be provided and shared with opposing experts.
Reports, do they always come at the same time in a case?
No, they do not.
When you wrote your reports, how would you provide them so they could be disseminated?
Sure. So that I would typically provide them to the client or the attorney that hired me, and then that would be disseminated from there.
Thank you for the follow.
Did you have an opportunity to receive Mr. DeSorga's March 5th, 2025 PowerPoint?
Yes, I did.
Were you provided that by me, the Commonwealth?
Yes, I was.
By me.
And were you asked or given any direction on what you could or should do?
No, I was not.
Were you ever asked to reach any particular result?
No, I was not.
Were you ever asked to avoid anything?
No, I was not.
Are you sure?
What did you see your role as when you receive a report from another expert like Mr. DeSorga?
Sure. So when I receive a report, I would typically review it and then make a decision if it's better to address any issues in that report through testimony or address those with a supplemental report.
And in that analysis, do you follow your own discretion or do you follow directions of the client?
No, I would follow my own discretion.
Did you ever receive any direction on what you should and shouldn't
Thank you,
do
Iggy.
regarding considering Mr. DeSorga's report?
No, I did not.
Are you sure?
When
Are you
you looked at Mr. DeSorga's report, did you have concerns about his report?
I did, yes.
I want to talk about his report in detail before we get there. Share with us what your general concerns were about Mr. DeSorga's report when you reviewed the whole report.
Sure. So what Mr. DeSorga does is take a couple different adjustment methods to attempt to adjust the clock from the Lexus with the iPhone. But what he does is takes a lot of methods or data points that are not applicable to the time that we're interested in.
What do you mean? Can you explain with a little more specificity what he does?
Sure. So if you think about it, your clock is constantly, changing as far as it syncs up with other GPS satellites or network time servers, and it's updating constantly. So a clock variance between two devices may be different at, say, 12 o'clock in the day versus 1 o'clock in the day.
A new one,
So
catnip.
best practice is to choose an event that is nearest to your time in question. So you have the most appropriate adjustment for that clock variance.
Mr. DeSorga's analysis, did he choose the event most closely tied to the backing up event?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
The backing up event, are you familiar with that time frame?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Was Mr. DeSorga's analysis based on information most closely related to that event?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
What information did Mr. DeSorga choose to use for that analysis relative to the backing up event?
Sure. So he chose a couple things. That's going to be call logs that happened on both devices or that was recorded on both devices, as well as a GPS point, data point which was incorrectly identified as being near that or encompassing that 3-point turn. So what we did is did a more thorough analysis of that 3-point turn event when it occurred within the iPhone data, and then compared that and adjusted with the Lexus.
Explain to us your concern about using call logs.
Sure. So there's a number of call logs that you saw earlier that were recorded by the phone and the Lexus. The one thing you'll notice, and it's hard to kind of go back to it without the graph, but the calls that happened between 1 and 5 o'clock that morning actually happened when the car was powered off. We know that based on the power on and power off events. So those timestamps that are recorded with that 2-second and 1-second offset is actually from Mrs. Reed's iPhone as she gets back in the vehicle and her phone connects up and syncs back up. So the 8-second and the 16 or 21-second offset are the only offsets that we have to compare to calls.
Was that a concern?
It was a concern.
Why?
Because if you're using the 1 and 2-second offsets, that could be misleading because it's not actually comparing the Lexus clock with the iPhone clock from Mr. O'Keefe.
What's it doing?
It's comparing the Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone clock with Mrs. Reed's iPhone clock.
What other concerns?
Sure. So the other concern was a GPS point known as GPS 154, which if you remember yesterday.
That's the $1 million question, along with so many others. I think the defense didn't move to have it dismissed because they had a point to prove, and Brennan is not helping himself at all.
We talked about it a little bit. So that was misidentified as being the end or towards the end of that 3-point turn. But when we look closer at all the location data, we can see that that actually occurs between 12:23:59 and I believe it was 12:24:07.
Let me ask you some questions about what compelled you to look at the 3-point turn and synchronize the clocks. Were you aware of Mr. Whiffin's report where he offered that the last user interaction on Mr. Whiffin's phone was 12:32:09?
Objection, Your Honor.
No. You were asked, did you consider Mr. Whiffin's report where there was a last user interaction of 12:32:09 by the user?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow that.
You were asked if you considered that. Did you know that information?
I did know that information was available and existed, but I did not use that in my analysis for the clock synchronization.
Oh, please.
Did that have any part of your motivation to do the clock synchronization?
No, it did not.
Were you attempting to match the synchronization with any of this other information that exists in data?
No, I was not.
You were also asked if you were aware of Mr. O'Keefe's phone that at 12:32:16, it ended its movement.
Yes, I was aware of that, yes.
Did that in any way affect your interest or your decision to synchronize the clocks?
No, it did not. So my primary focus and to adjust the clocks was because I thought the PowerPoint slides by Mr. DeSogra were misleading.
We've seen time and time again when Brennan gets up there to question somebody, what does he do? He tries, in my opinion only, tries to overflood our brains and distract us. It's misdirection, since we're on the misdirection for everybody in there, every juror. He's trying to overflood their brains so they can forget about the shit show that happened right before it.
When you were shown Exhibit 190, can we have 190, please?
Ask Shannon.
You were shown this chart. Was this the entirety of Mr. DeSorga's report?
No, it was not.
Was there text information offered by Mr. DeSorga to give his position or explanation of this?
Hello.
Yes, there was.
Is that included in this exhibit?
No, it's not.
Did you get a chance to read Mr. DeSorga's report, including
That he says
the
no.
actual text explaining his analysis and process leading to this chart?
Yes, I was.
Did you look at Mr. DeSorga's entire report?
Yes, I did.
Move to introduce Mr. DeSorga's report.
He's gonna make this painful. Mr. Brennan is.
So this was triple D for identification. That would be the next exhibit.
How many of you think the jury is pissed right now? I would be.
Exhibit 191.
Thank you for the follow. Yes.
You said as a result of Mr. DeSorga's report, you were concerned, so that compelled
1 second, guys. I just got a tornado watch on my phone, so if I disappear, you know why. Check Kansas.
you to do your analysis that resulted in your May 8th report.
Correct.
I want you to take us through Mr. DeSorga's report and explain to the jury what concerned you about his analysis.
Sure.
With the court's permission, I'd like to put this page 1 of this
Thank you,
report.
man. You better. How many Illinoisans do we have today? Because I think we have more than we think.
Is this the front cover of Mr. DeSorga's March 5th, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
Turn to page 2, please.
If you're in Illinois, we just got a tornado watch. See if it applies to you, Illinoisans.
Where do you recognize this slide or photograph coming from?
Sure. So this slide is coming from Dr. Welcher's overall PowerPoint slides.
When you first saw
There's
this
a lot of this
slide, where did you first see, which source did you first see this through?
Through Mr. DeSogra's PowerPoint.
Well, Dr. Welcher works at Aperture, doesn't he?
He does, yes.
Did you know he was working on this case?
Yes, I did.
Was he providing you his PowerPoint or slides before this point?
No, he was not.
I'm south of Joliet.
When you first saw
In
this
the
slide,
cornfields.
did you see information about the timing of the tech stream event, which was the backing maneuver?
Yes, I did.
And what time did that show?
Can we blow it up just so I don't get the time
Please.
wrong?
When Aaron comes in, remind me to tell him there's a tornado watch, will you guys? I'll need the backup of all 260 of you to remember. We better not lose our cell service again. We lost it on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Please, I'm sorry. There we go. Thank you, Ms. Gilman.
Thank you. You
Sure,
gotta
so
go
that's
pick up
got
your
the
kid in like 20
Techstream
minutes.
event ending at 12:31:43.
These tech stream events that are captured, do you know how long of the event is captured? How many seconds?
Yes, so approximately 5 seconds before the trigger threshold is met and 5 seconds after.
When this information that you reviewed in Mr. DeSorga's report, do you know what clock is used to identify the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43?
Yes, I do.
And what clock is that?
So that's a combination of the Lexus clock that's coming from the infotainment center, as well as the running timer that we discussed yesterday, that's coming from the airbag module itself.
Question. If you guys are on that jury right now, pretend you know nothing. Nothing about this case, but you're just in the jury. And you've already been through the testimony that we've seen. How intently are you listening to this? And how much of it would you believe?
Is the source of that time important?
Keep using
Yes,
my
it is.
expression
If you
lines.
compare time from a different clock with time from a different clock and don't synchronize the two, does that lead you to an accurate result?
No, it does not.
When you were answering questions, you repeatedly were saying, according to the Lexus clock. Why were you offering that qualification repeatedly? One moment, please.
Sure.
Why were you offering that qualification repeatedly?
Sure. So to make sure that the jury understood that that timestamp was coming from the Lexus itself and was not an adjusted timestamp to Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
Could you scroll down, please, Ms. Gilman?
Is he kidding?
Up a little bit, please. Thank you. The 3209, what did you understand that information to be?
Sure. So that is information I understood to be the last device lock recorded on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
And what clock
Sorry.
did you understand that time came from?
That would come from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone clock.
If you reconciled his iPhone clock information, or if you compared it without reconciling to the Lexus information, what's the danger in doing that?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Is there any danger in doing that?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow that.
You're gonna
Is there
let
any danger in comparing two times if you don't consider the clocks that they came from?
Yes, there is. So you could
babe, we have a tornado watch. Have a good night and stay safe.
essentially be, inaccurate time for when that event actually occurred.
If you could just scroll down to the bottom so we could see the rest of that. You mentioned the word variance yesterday during your direct examination. I'm going to ask you to look at that box that has the green around it. Is that an example of variance?
Yes, that is an example of variance between, so I take that back. That is not an example of variance itself. That is an example of, comparing the end of the tech stream event to the device lock event.
Is it?
Don't mind me. I'm fighting battles. It's a full-time job with my wrinkles, so I keep using my expression lines. I'm trying to train myself not to.
That attempting to compare two different devices?
So that's attempting to, that's not attempting to compare anything. It's just stating that the time between the device event lock and the end of the tech stream event, unadjusted, is approximately 26 seconds.
Is that accounting for synchronization or not accounting for synchronization?
That is not accounting, that is not with synchronization.
Can we turn to the next page, please?
Who? Bev?
Did you review the next page of Mr. DeSorga's report?
Yes, I did.
And did it lead you to any concerns?
This page specifically, yes and no. So this page again is just showing
He said that he wasn't the one to do it. Well, he didn't outright say it. He implied that it was his employer that was responsible for updating that information, not him.
time difference between the end of the tech stream event and Mr. O'Keefe's last device lock event.
Is this another way of showing the information that was in that green box?
It is. It's another way of showing the information in that green box, but it is not a, clock variance or an adjustment.
Could you turn the page, please?
I agree, Julie.
When you read this page, is this a opinion or conclusion?
No, it does not.
What is it?
So this is just pointing out that when the 26-second window, which they'll refer as John's interaction window, when that number is positive, then the phone interaction occurs after the end of the tech stream event. When that number is negative, the phone interaction occurs before the end of the tech stream event ends.
Did you have any issue with that slide?
No, not that slide in particular.
We turn the next page. Did you have an opportunity to review the next page?
Hold on, I have to read you what this says. The phone and vehicle are two separate clocks. They may not be aligned exactly. What do you hear there? We don't want one, Jody. We want this case to be thrown out with prejudice. We don't want a mistrial. That means they just get to start over again. What did you hear? The phone and vehicle are two separate clocks. They may not be aligned exactly. Exactly, Valora. Exactly.
Yes, I did.
And were you in agreement with this page?
I was in agreement with this page, yes.
And what does this tell us?
So this page points out that two clocks are not always in sync. So again, to synchronize those clocks, you would have to have a shared event that occurred on both devices.
If we could have the next page, please. Any chance to make that a tiny bit bigger, Ms. Gilman?
There is always interaction with O'Keefe's phone after the end of the vehicle, regardless of what adjustments are made to correct clock variance.
Were you in agreement with this page?
No, I was not.
Tell us what concerns you about this page.
Sure. So this page is potentially misleading to the jury again by using,
Objection, Your Honor, move to strike.
I'll strike that.
Just tell me what your concerns were.
Sure. So my concerns with this, that it
No,
was
we're delayed.
potentially misleading to the jury.
Objection, Your Honor, move to strike.
No, I'm going to allow that, that's his concern.
Sure. So this slide was potentially misleading to the jury because it uses incorrect adjustments to try and adjust the times.
How does it use incorrect adjustments? Explain that to us so it's very basic, please.
Sure. So as we kind of go through the next few slides, you'll see. But essentially what they're doing is, or what is being done, is they're comparing call logs, timestamps from call logs from when the phone was off, suggesting that, again, that the lock event occurs after the end of the text stream event, as well as incorrectly identifying the GPS point when the 3-point turn ends.
Would you better be able to explain that to us with the further slides that come next?
Yes, I believe so.
If we could turn to the next page, please.
Ooh, we got to 50K. Thank you guys for tapping. I
Is this
greatly
just
appreciate
a
it.
label of what's to come?
It is.
And can we
Let's
turn
go
to the next page, please? If we could start, Ms. Gilman, with the top left-hand box, if you could enlarge that for us.
No, I don't believe there's anybody.
Did
that
you
could.
review this information in this box?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And before we get to your opinions,
Hold the hell on, Mel. You guys see that question? How would he know what slide comes next? Really freaking good catch.
what
Really
does this information tell you?
Sure. So this is a snapshot from my initial report where I point out that the ignition on happens approximately 3 seconds before the infotainment power on event. So you can see that. I think we're up a little too high on the page.
Like,
Yeah. So highlighted in the red. That's based on our testing where we identified that the ignition on, or your finger on the ignition pressing it, and the engine coming on and the vehicle coming on happens 3 seconds before the infotainment system powers on.
So yes, we're literally doing this over 3 seconds. I've been waiting for one of you to bring this point to the forefront for a long time. I've been waiting. So thank you, Courtney, for doing that. 3 seconds. That's the timeline.
you were asked on cross-examination about that 3 seconds between the pressing the button and the infotainment system going on, but you weren't allowed to answer the question whether you considered it or why that was important. So I'm going to give you that opportunity now.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained, ask the question. please.
Okay. Is there significance to that 3 seconds?
You do not do that. You do not do that. You do not give somebody on the stand an opportunity to openly speak. You don't do that, Mr. Brennan, and you know that. I know, right, Monica? Well, if you go based on the Lexus clock, hold on, it's making me do the thing. Because the Lexus clock is the end all be all, and if the Lexus says it's right, it's gotta be. What is wrong with these
Did you
people?
consider it in your report, in your findings?
Yes, I did.
Share with us.
Sure. So when we make our adjustments based on the event, so in this case, the 3-point turn, what we're looking at is the approximate time frame when that 3-point turn occurred via Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. And then we're adjusting that for the approximate time that the text stream event and that 3-point turn ends.
Right, Jamie?
So as we sync those clocks, we're adjusting not only for the difference in the clocks, but we're also adjusting for this 3-second delay.
Did you accommodate that 3-second delay in your analysis and your conclusions?
Yes, that was included in my analysis.
Now back to the screen.
All their lies are giving me palpitations. I might need to do a face mask too. Damn.
The information there, is that text taken from your actual report?
Right?
Yes, it is.
Could we shrink the screen, please? And then the photograph in the bottom left, if we could enlarge that. Is that as well from your report?
Yes, that is also from my report.
Did we look at that yesterday on your direct examination?
Yes, I believe so.
And briefly tell us what that depicts?
Sure. So that's during our exemplar testing, where again we've got it rigged with cameras that are recording video and timestamps of interactions we're having with the vehicle, which include powering it on and powering it off.
If you could shrink the screen and we'll go to the right, Ms. Gilman. What was the import of this screen to you in its entirety?
Sure. So this is not actually a valid way to adjust or synchronize clocks because, again, we're not adjusting based on a shared event. So the ignition on event occurs. It is not recorded by Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. But again, we are adjusting and including this in our timestamp adjustment.
We
Our
turn to the
last
next
April
page,
skin
please.
one.
You were asked about the process of synchronization through phone calls or through the 3-point turn data.
Yes, that's correct.
Why did you choose to use the 3-point turn data instead of phone calls?
Sure. So I chose to use the 3-point turn data because it was closer in time to the event that was of interest, as well as it was based not only on the infotainment clock, but it was also based on that running timer. So once we adjust that first event to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, the second event is also based on that running timer, so it would also be adjusted.
Did you have any concerns about using phone calls specifically?
Yes, I did.
And what were they and why?
Sure. So those concerns were related to the phone calls that we could actually compare, and again, some of the phone calls that happened earlier or closer to the event of interest were not actually recorded by the infotainment system itself.
Why is it important to take an event closest to the time of the event you're studying?
Sure. So like I kind of said before, clock variance will change between devices as they are constantly syncing back up with reference systems. So a clock difference that you see at 1 o'clock in the day is not going to be the same as you would see at 2 o'clock in the day.
When you chose the 3-point turn, how close to the backing up event was that in time?
I believe it was within 10 minutes or so.
Was that closer in time or further away in time than the phone calls as a method?
That was closer in time than the phone calls. If you think back to the phone calls that we could have compared, those occurred at 5 o'clock in the morning.
We turn to the
Right.
next page, please.
Good catch, Smalls.
Did you have a chance to review this slide of the PowerPoint?
No.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now you see on the left is a box. Where's that
Wait, do you mean are we current or is it delayed? We're delayed.
box taken from?
Sure. So that box on the left is taken from my report.
That's the question.
That's going to be my initial report.
January 30th, 2025.
That's correct.
And share with us what you were trying to express in this box.
Sure. So again, this box is
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I
Sure.
apologize. Ms. Goodman, is there any chance?
Thank you for interrupting. It lets me get this in the bag.
My apologies. Okay, please proceed.
Sure. So this is a comparison of the
Right.
calls. So the infotainment call
Oh, okay.
timestamps are on the furthest left column. So again, your infotainment system, when you plug your phone in, is recording and synchronizing your calls. It's not great about recording and synchronizing every call. So there's a lot of calls here that we don't have that we know exist based on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. So the calls that we do have that were recorded in the infotainment system, we can compare to the timestamps that those are recorded on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. So when
You
we
and me
do
both.
that, there's a couple things we notice is during that 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock and 4:45 time frame, when we look back at the power on and off events, we know the vehicle was not powered on at that time. So the vehicle's off. So those timestamps are not coming from the vehicle. They're coming from Mrs. Reed's iPhone or the
Miss.
defendant's iPhone.
Get it right.
And then the times after 5:21, we know the vehicle has been powered up at that point. So those timestamps are coming from the infotainment system itself. So that's why we can actually do a comparison of those timestamps and determine the exact or the approximate clock variance.
When you look at the
Good point, Peggy.
call timestamps of 1:14:13, 4:38:16, and 4:42:06 and 4:45:12, was the power on or off with the car during those four first calls?
Yeah, so with those first 5 calls, the car was powered off. And again, we know that based on the
Hold
power.
on. The bottom of the report, it's for Aperture. It says Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, and Texas. It does not say Massachusetts. It doesn't say Massachusetts. Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, Texas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Massachusetts isn't there. I just have no words.
Or
Maybe
on
it's
and off
nothing.
event. We also know that just by looking at the offset, it's a consistent 1 or 2 seconds. And that's what we typically expect and see between 2 iPhones. That's because iPhones are generally pinging back to Apple servers or GPS towers that are the same. So those times are pretty consistent and pretty accurate.
Wouldn't you think that would list where they're practicing? Different qualifications for each state. He's got some qualifications. He just doesn't have his bachelor's degree. Are they even valid in Massachusetts? His degree or his... Hold on, I'm confusing myself. Certifications, are they valid in Maine? Or
Was the power on by
Massachusetts.
5:04:28?
My eyes caught
No,
your
not
word.
at 5:04:28. It was still powered off.
So those first five events, were they reliable for you to use in synchronization?
No, they were not.
You gave us a number of reasons. One, the time distance between the event and because they were phone to phone. Any other reasons why they weren't?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll strike the first part, ask some questions.
Besides the reasons you already gave us, are there any other reasons why this would not be a reliable way to synchronize 2 separate devices?
Not besides the points I've made already.
Okay. And if we could zoom back on this.
Think of it this way. If I'm right, when they get to recross, again, hopefully they'll call it out. Because there's no way in hell that everything else that they managed to dig up, they overlooked that. No, not the dream team.
The box on the right, is that from your report? Is that Mr. DeSorga?
That's Mr. DeSogra.
And was there anything about that analysis that concerned you?
Sure. So that analysis is misleading because, again, it's not comparing Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone to the infotainment system. It's actually comparing the defendant's iPhone to Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
Is there any...
Clearly, I'm going to have to use my voice more because now that I put this on, I can't give you guys expressions. The hell?
acknowledgement anywhere in Mr. DeSorga's report that he appreciated that this was iPhone to iPhone rather than iPhone to infotainment?
No, there's not.
Did you ever receive any report from Mr. DeSorga
Every time.
that
Kat.
would alert that he appreciated that this was iPhone to iPhone and not iPhone to infotainment?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
If we could go to the next slide, please. Is this a similar or different slide?
Sure. So this is a different slide.
Okay, if we can zoom in on the left box, please. Where does that box come from?
Sure. So again, that's coming from the same page of my report, just highlighting the 5:30 phone call. And this is comparing the iPhone from Mr. O'Keefe with the infotainment clock.
At that point, is the power on of
Thank you,
the
Lisa.
Lexus?
Yes. So at this point, the power is on. So this is a comparison of the infotainment clock with the iPhone clock at that time.
Could you zoom out?
Thank you, Gail.
That final box that shows the comparison between the defendant's Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. Do you have any concerns about the accuracy of that information for that time?
No, so I think those times are accurate, but again, that's at 5 o'clock in the morning when we're trying to adjust the clock variance. And it's too far away from the time in question. So if we zoom back in to the box, we can actually see in the data what I'm talking about as far as clock variance will change, with time. So the phone call at 5:21, we see an offset of around 8 seconds between the two devices, between the infotainment system and the iPhone. And then at 5:30, which is only 9 minutes later, we can see that offset has actually increased between 16 and 21.
In capturing this data, were there phone calls between the infotainment system and Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, those last two phone calls were between the infotainment system, or were recorded by the infotainment system with Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
How does that happen?
Sure. So that's, when the device is connected up to the vehicle and you make a phone call, the call is recorded within the infotainment system and it's recorded with the infotainment system's timestamp.
Could you focus on the right-hand box, please? Did you review the right-hand box?
Yes, I did.
Was that from your report or is that Mr. DeSorga's opinion?
That's Mr. DeSogris.
Did you have any agreement with that?
Yes, so I do agree with that calculation, but again, that's 5 o'clock in the morning versus when we're really interested in around 12:30.
You,
Yeah,
not
the next
they,
slide, please.
not we, you.
Could we enlarge this?
This is my last April
Do
skin.
you know where this
mask, isn't it?
photograph came from?
Yes, so this screenshot came from Dr. Welcher's presentation.
When's the first time you saw this screen?
When I saw this presentation.
In Mr. DeSorga's report?
Correct,
Had you
yes.
seen this before that?
I had not seen this before that.
If we could focus in a little more, especially the bottom left hand.
This is the one that goes transparent, just like the Medicare
When
one.
you reviewed this, did you feel any need to do further testing?
Yes, I did.
Why?
So what we're looking at, if we zoom back out, so what that is the 12/23/38 is the approximate time that the text stream event occurred. Now,
same
what we
company.
want to do is we want to be able to compare that to the 3-point turn from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. What you'll notice, though, is right here, we've got a circled GPS point. So if we can zoom in there. So this circle here is actually circled GPS point 155, which is after this point, but we'll kind of ignore that. But GPS 154,
ignore it.
and it's hard to see, the time is 12:23:58. When we look at that, what we see is that actually that GPS position is recorded before the 3-point turn even starts.
You
Brennan's
mentioned
making us suffer.
154 begins recording before the 3-point turn starts.
Correct.
Is the end time of the 3-point turn a time before or after that 12:23:58?
Sure. So the end of the 3-point turn logically would be after this point.
At the time you saw the slide, had you broken down point 154?
No, not at the time that I saw this slide.
Could you zoom back out a little bit, please? The information in the right box, is that from you or from Mr. DeSorga?
That is not from me.
And when you read that, did that compel you to want to do anything?
Yes, it did. So again, my initial thought was to address this during testimony. With further review and further thought, I decided it was best to offer a supplemental report. What this is, basically the math I agree with. The point I don't agree with is that GPS 154 is the time towards the end of the 3-point turn. And now reviewing further data, we know that's not true.
The 12:23:58
Right.
event on the phone, is that related to the first event, the 3-point turn, or the second event, the backing maneuver?
So that's going to be related to the first event, the 3-point turn.
Was there any other data that was closer in time to the 12, to the backing event that you had access to?
No, not that we had access to.
Turn to the next slide, please. You've seen this part of the report before?
Yes, I have.
Having seen the earlier part of the report, does it help you explain and understand this diagram?
Yes, it does.
Thank you for the follow.
Is this your diagram or Mr. DeSorger's?
This is Mr. DeSogris.
Do you agree with this diagram?
No, I do not.
Okay, could you explain to us what this, from your perspective, from your experience, what this chart is trying to suggest?
Sure. So this chart is trying to suggest that the lock event always occurs after the end of the text stream event. And again, that's using inaccurate adjustments to make that conclusion.
I want you to use the pointer and I want you to take us line by line why you believe that this is inaccurate in trying to conclude the time of those locking adjustments.
Sure. So it's kind of hard to tell. So what we've got is we've actually got two different sections. So we've got the top section, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 events. So that's going to be the GPS event and those, let's see, no, that's going to be this, it's hard to say. That's going to be the phone calls and the GPS event that are calculated in this. And it's also done with the 3-second delay as well adjusted. But what we see is, so this obviously +1 is one of the phone calls that was from the defendant's iPhone time. So not from the infotainment system. So that's a inaccurate comparison. Same thing for the +2, the +1, the +2 again, the +8, the +16, and the +20 are going to be those last two calls. If you'll notice, the very last call, we can't really tell which phone call is the correct one to compare. So we're using both within that same time frame. And that's why we get the 16 or the 21-second variance. But again, that's 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's not appropriate for the time that we were interested in. And then the 20
But why do you have to create different times, sir?
second variance is coming from that inaccurate GPS position comparison.
Could we enlarge that a little bit, Ms. Gilman? On the 2021, is that plus or minus 21?
So that is -21.
The 20 and 21, is that based on different information than the 1, 2, and 8?
Yes, it is.
And explain again for us, where's the different source of the information?
Sure. So the -20 is coming from that GPS .154, which we know is not the end of the 3-point turn. It's right before the 3-point turn begins. And the -21 is coming from the last phone call that happens around 5:20, I believe, or 5:30. And again, that's 5 hours after the time of interest.
How you doing today?
The minus 20 and minus 21, is that suggesting that time should be taken off or put onto Mr. O'Keefe's phone for synchronization?
Sure. So that's suggesting that time should be, I'd have to go back to the other slides. I believe that's, either way, it's suggesting that the iPhone lock event occurs +6 or +5 seconds after the end of the text stream event.
Besides not accommodating for the timing of that timestamp at the beginning of the 3-point turn, is there anything else about this that concerns you?
No, just that overall, these numbers can be misleading, again, because they're based on inaccurate adjustments, and could lead, again, the jury to believe that the lock event always happens after the end of the text stream event.
Can we go to the last page of Mr. DeSorger's report? Is this a conclusion offered by Mr. DeSorger?
Yes, it is.
Did you agree with that?
No, I did not.
Why not?
So based on those inaccurate adjustments, this slide is again kind of misleading in the fact that it states there's always interaction with Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the end of the text stream event.
You can take that down and turn that off, please, for a moment.
I just think it's bullshit that they're trying to destroy that
After
expert
reviewing
before
this
he
report,
testifies.
you told us you then engaged in further study for synchronization.
Yes, I did.
Did you call me on May 7th?
Yes,
And what were you told to do about a report?
on May 7th.
Yes.
Sure. So I would finish the report and submit it.
Did you?
I did.
And when did you submit it?
May 8th.
And do you know that it was provided to the defense by email on May 8th?
Objection, Your Honor.
Do you know if it was provided to the defense?
Yes, I know it was provided. I don't know when.
I can't even believe this.
Now, if we could have Mr. Burgess's PowerPoint, we can go back to page 38, please.
$17, Liz.
After you explain to us,
Objection, Your Honor. Can we close please on scope six?
Sidebar requested by Mr. Jackson. Your color wheel words.